Last night there was a party in honor of the main character's retirement. Ethan only reached B rank, so only a few guests came to congratulate the hero. He is already dreaming of a pension. After 20 years of work, he has accumulated a good amount of money in his account, and he has already purchased his own home. But the hero wakes up in another reality. He is in a shabby room and looks much younger than his 40 years. Ethan puts his head in his hands and tries to understand what happened last night. The hero turns on the phone and finds out that he is in 2018. He throws the phone forcefully against the wall in a fit of impotence and anger. In despair, the hero swears loudly. Returning to the past was not in his plans. Ethan continues to loudly lament the quiet life of retirement that has eluded him. On his hand, he notices a powerful artifact from the future, an unusual-looking watch. Ethan's friend gave them to him as a gift at that same party. According to rumors, the watch belonged to a powerful magician, and the hero assumes that it was they that transported him to the past. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. It is the son of the owner of the hostel where Ethan rented a room. This fat guy always brought nothing but trouble, threw noisy parties, and was rude to the main character. Opening the door, Ethan notes that the fat man has a nice jacket made from monster skin. As compensation for the noise, the rude man demands the main character's watch. But Ethan pushes the fat man's hand away and hits him in the face with all his might. The bull begins to sink to the ground, his nose oozing blood. Ethan takes the stunned guy by the head, barely restraining the desire to kill the scoundrel. And he knocks out the fat man with a powerful knee strike right in the nose. The bull falls to the ground. Several fractures are guaranteed after such blows. Ethan takes the jacket he liked and says that he will no longer live in the dorm. The fat man refuses any claims and begs not to kill him. Ethan goes outside and walks along familiar alleys. He remembers that it was at that time that he woke up, and an accident occurred at the construction site. He feels the mana begin to fill his body with strength again. A mysterious energy permeates Ethan from head to toe. He notes to himself that his body is not yet ready for such overloads, and he needs to do something with his diet. An empty stomach immediately reminds you of itself with a loud rumbling. The hero notes that the construction site is cluttered with structures and equipment, due to which the gate that opened that day went unnoticed. Ethan hears a heartbreaking scream from the street. It was those same gates that opened, and passers-by ran away from them in all directions. Dogs of hellish appearance and coloring begin to fill the street. An elderly man running past advises the hero to get away as soon as possible. But the hero notices a young man who has clearly lost someone in the crowd. He clearly needs help. With a deep sigh, Ethan takes off his backpack and prepares to fight. Grabbing a crowbar that was lying nearby at a construction site, the hero runs towards the dogs. 3 monsters surrounded the little girl, who fell to her knees and began to roar. One of them has already made a jump and opened a huge mouth, intending to devour the child. But a split second before the bite, Ethan manages to pull the girl out by the collar of her blouse. He tells the girl to run to her father, while he himself remains in place to repel the monsters. The dogs begin to attack. They rush towards the main character, growling angrily. The mount is moving at great speed towards the grinning muzzles. The first blow lands on the temple of one of the monsters, instantly incapacitating him. The second hellhound comes in from the side, taking advantage of the fact that the hero is distracted. But Ethan notices the movement and is already swinging for the next blow. The crowbar goes deep into the monster's jaw like a fishhook. Ethan lifts the dog above his head like a stuffed animal, and swinging, he throws it with force towards his relatives. About a dozen dogs remain on the street, slowly surrounding their prey. Gradually, the monsters begin to understand that they themselves are turning from hunters into victims. Ethan looks at the remaining opponents with a hungry look. A creepy grin appears on his face. Such a human reaction makes even hellish monsters uneasy. The hero remembers how delicious the stew made from the meat of such dogs is. He decides to finish off the monsters as quickly as possible before hunger ends him. Despite the fact that the hero wins, he realizes that he has lost a lot in his skills. A huge dog jumps on the main character from behind. But he dodges a split second before the bite. The monster's jaws click loudly. Pushing off the ground, the hero delivers a crushing kick to the monster's head. Dodging the hellhound's lunge, Ethan quickly removes the watch from his hand. He takes the expensive accessory in his hand, like brass knuckles, and hits him in the cheekbone of the hesitant monster. There is not a scratch left on the watch, and the hero notes its durability. The monsters have already lost more than half of the pack, but their animal instinct and numerical advantage do not allow them to give up. Finally, the police arrive on the scene and help get rid of the remaining monsters. Without noticing the officer, the hero is upset because the recently purchased jacket managed to tear in the first battle. The policeman asks the hero to provide personal information so that Ethan can be thanked for saving people. The hero replies that he is not yet registered as a Superman and can only give him a phone number. Snatching the notepad from the officer's hands, he quickly writes down the communication data and runs away from the crowd and onlookers. On the way, he thinks that his actions must have attracted the attention of the superhuman guilds. Finally, the hero gets to a small restaurant and can calmly have a snack. Hot food seems very tasty to him and allows him to regain some strength. In the middle of lunch, notifications begin to arrive on the hero's phone. The hero understands that the information has definitely reached the guilds, and it is they who are tearing up his phone with job offers. In the years in which the hero returned, supermen had just begun to appear and were worth their weight in gold. Suggestions rain down on Ethan one after another. The phone never stops vibrating. He leans back in his chair and decides to wait until the guild representatives find him in person. Along the way, the hero comes up with a plan on how to effectively use his knowledge about the future. Messages with offers keep pouring in on the hero, and he is clearly flattered by this. Finally, a young man in a business suit calls out to Ethan from behind.
He introduces himself as the manager of one of the guilds.
Meanwhile, an expensive limousine arrives at the cafe. A beautiful girl flies out of it. She bursts into the cafe and speaks loudly to the finder. She also came to invite Ethan to join the guild. But the girl does not have time to complete her speech. A huge man, clearly an experienced warrior, appears in front of her. He introduces himself and begins to offer the hero his terms. Gradually, the cafe is filled with representatives of different guilds. The main character sits calmly at the table and remains silent. Soon the cafe becomes too noisy. Ethan can no longer hear the noisy managers. While finishing his tea, the main character suggests moving to another place and listening to everyone in turn. The first to start is a young man from the ruling family's guild. But Ethan interrupts him and wishes to get home well. The hero adds that he does not want to join a guild with such poor management, especially since he knows that the organization will soon disappear. Another representative immediately gets involved and begins to loudly name the amount for the contract. The rest of the managers vying with each other to offer large sums, as if they were at an auction. Flattered by such attention, the hero continues to sit at the table and listen to proposals. Finally, it's Linda's turn to represent the White House Guild. This is one of the youngest guilds, which will soon be among the top 3 in the entire country. The hero continues to listen carefully to the girl while she lists the advantages of the guild. He asks the other representatives to leave the cafe and leave their business cards just in case. Left alone with the hero, Linda mentions that she has already watched the footage of Ethan's fight with the dogs and is impressed. The hero notes the seriousness of the guild's approach to selecting candidates. The girl puts the contract on the table and invites the hero to familiarize himself with it. Ethan quickly glances over a typical guild agreement. He asks permission to make some changes, and the girl agrees. Seeing the conditions, Linda can't help but laugh. Her gaze becomes stern, and she asks whether the main character is joking. Ethan dispels doubts and says that there is no joke in his conditions. The girl is clearly surprised. She did not expect such confidence from a newcomer who had just awakened. The main character convinces her that his conditions are quite fair, considering what a valuable employee the guild will get. Linda abruptly stands up from the table, hitting it loudly, the stern expression on her face betraying her displeasure. But he immediately replaces his anger with an angelic smile and politely says goodbye to the hero, promising to ask his superiors about Ethan's additional conditions. As she leaves, she suggests that next time we meet not in a cafe but in a bar and have a drink. The main character considers the proposal for a few seconds, resting his head on his hand. He has gone through more than one interview and knows very well that this is just a trick. In the end, he agrees and gets up from the table, because it's time for him to leave too. Ethan goes to a nearby disaster center to register as a superhuman. He is met by a timid girl who has never performed such a complex procedure, especially since superhumans are still quite rare. She calls her boss and clarifies the instructions for conducting tests for a Superman, then invites Ethan to go with her. The hero decides to hide the fact that he possesses not only physical superpower but also magical skills, because magic in the human world is practically unknown. Testing will take place in the gym, where the hero will have to lift a 200-kilogram barbell. Naturally, Ethan easily copes with the task and lifts the projectile with one hand. The girl is surprised at the main character's abilities and notes that he is truly a Superman. In the end, the hero is given a certificate and he is about to leave the premises. At this time, the head of the center enters the reception area. Ethan begins to quicken his pace. The hero has already met this person in the future and knows that nothing good can be expected from him. Ethan thinks he shouldn't come to the center anymore if he doesn't want to get involved with this not-so-nice man. The head of the center seems to be already aware of the unusual newcomer who recently went through an awakening. After the hero left the hostel, he began to live in the pollution control center. In a year, the abandoned area will turn into the center of everyone's attention, when a dimensional gate connects Earth and Gaia, a fantastic world of magic and swords. The hero approaches his tent, continuing to think about the portal. He decides to buy out the pollution control center with the money received for signing a contract with the guild. Suddenly, Ethan hears the voice of a small child threatening someone. He activates his camouflage skill and decides to scout out the situation. Moving easily like a shadow, he heads towards the sounding voices. Arriving at the place, he sees a little girl surrounded by 3 bandits. The child threatens to hurt the thugs if they come closer. Flame bursts out of her hands, and the bandits rejoice that they managed to find the owner of magical powers. The fire in the child's hands begins to fade. It seems she won't have enough strength to fight off her opponents. Ethan recognizes the strange language the girl speaks, Gaian, and decides to help the child. He notices a tattoo on the arm of one of the thugs. Ethan has already seen one in the future and knows very well people who wear the same designs on their bodies. The Red Snake Gang are inveterate thugs who trade in drugs and people. Deciding not to waste all the mana, the hero comes out of disguise and jumps down. He takes out his knife and prepares to start a fight. The hero runs up and with all his might thrusts a knife into the back of the first bandit, leaving him no chance to survive. Ethan uses his remaining mana to speed up his movements and emerge victorious from the fight. In the blink of an eye, the hero cuts the throat of the second thug, who barely has time to utter a word. The third bandit does not have time to understand why his comrades fall dead. The hero's actions are so fast and refined. The scream gets stuck in the girl's throat. She is scared to death and awaits her fate. The hero stops and clears his throat before speaking. He asks if the girl knows about Gaia, a mystical continent that people on Earth have no idea about yet. The girl is surprised that the hero speaks her native language. The child's stomach protests loudly. She hasn't eaten for perhaps several days and has spent a lot of energy fighting off the bandits. The hero understands that the conversation will go better if the child is fed and wonders if she eats meat. The girl thanks the hero for saving her. Her strength was not enough to fight off 3 adult thugs. Deciding to still get at least some information, Ethan continues to ask the child about her native land. The girl's gaze is filled with sadness. She is exhausted and does not want to talk. The hero understands that it will not be possible to get answers and sits down on the ground next to the child. The girl asks the hero to help her get comfortable on a planet that is new to her, because she doesn't even know the local language. A flame appears in her hands. Such a gift was not uncommon among the inhabitants of Gaia. But maintaining and using magic takes a lot of effort, and the girl has not yet gained the necessary experience. The hero declares that he has a lot to do and is not going to take care of the girl just like that. He agrees to help her for exactly 1 month, during which he promises to teach her the language and tell her about life on Earth, and the girl is delighted. To begin with, Ethan asks the child to wash the dirty dishes left over from yesterday's dinner. She's ready to carry out all the hero's orders and finally introduces herself. The girl's name is Lily. The hero tells the child about her new responsibilities and tells her where to take the dirty dishes. Suddenly, an image of an adult girl pops up in his head. A powerful sorceress, incinerating everything in her path. He notes that the girl and the child are very similar, literally like 2 peas in a pod. In the future of the hero, the girl was stolen by a criminal organization and raised from her into a witch, who became one of the 6 disasters that almost destroyed the Earth. The hero goes to the market with Lily and promises to cook her a special lunch. At this time, on Earth, they had already begun to consume the monsters that came here through the gates as food. But people did not yet realize the value of meat, which replenishes mana reserves, so they gave it away for next to nothing. Sweet Lily looked so exhausted that in every shop the hero was given more food than he asked for. After eating, it's time to buy clothes and the girl stops at a cute dress. But the more practical Ethan buys her a tracksuit. He says that dresses are not made for life in a landfill. Returning home, the hero prepares his signature dish from the meat of various monsters. The brew looks threatening. The girl is afraid to try even a spoonful of the suspicious dinner. Ethan takes out the fried chicken he was saving for later. Lily takes the leg in her hand and takes a large bite, tasting chicken for the first time. And she remains completely delighted with it. The girl is ready to eat only chicken for the rest of her life. But cunning Ethan removes the remaining portion and says that first they need to eat some soup. The hero himself has difficulty eating the monster brew, but reassures himself that such food has a good effect on mana and the body as a whole. The girl eats both the soup and the chicken and can barely move. Ethan tells her to wash the dishes and then start reading. The hero himself goes to a secluded corner and sits down to meditate. He uses the Great Sea of Mind technique, which allows him to increase his mana reserves and bring his magic under greater control. The rate of mana growth exceeds all the hero's expectations. He thinks that this is most likely due to proper nutrition and the already accumulated 20 years of experience as a hero. Ethan promises to work more on technology and constantly cook food from monsters in order to become stronger than the future version of himself. He finishes class, and Lily spies on him from around the corner. The hero's stomach growls, and the girl happily asks if it's time to buy more chicken. But instead of fast food, Ethan replenishes his strength with previously prepared soup. He wants to achieve results in his preparation as quickly as possible. 2 days later, the hero notes that the diet and training are not in vain. His body is filled with mana. Ethan's thoughts are interrupted by a call coming from his jacket pocket. This is Linda. She reproaches the hero for not being at all interested in the process of renegotiating the terms of the contract with the guild. Busy with training and raising the girl, Ethan had already forgotten about his intention to join the organization. Linda is silent for a long time. It seems that there are difficulties with the contract, but the girl still managed to persuade the head of the guild to consider the hero's candidacy, if he agreed to testing. The next day, Ethan arrives at a huge building with luxurious decoration, the headquarters of the White House Guild. He takes Lily with him so that she doesn't cause trouble or get into it herself while the hero is away. The girl likes the interior of the building and the friendly Linda, who pleasantly communicates with her. The hero introduces the child as his half-sister. Ethan explains to the girl that he came to get a job to earn money, and Lily immediately begins to dream of buying more chicken. Linda assures the hero that the guild does not pry into the personal affairs of employees and offers to go up to the floor where testing will take place. There, the heroes are met by the head of the White House Guild, Donald. Ethan shakes the man's hand, noting that the head spares no effort in training. Donald begins to discuss the terms of the contract, and is a little surprised that the hero asks to double the amount of payments if he passes the test. Although the head of the guild does not have magical abilities, his energy is extremely strong. The hero notes that Donald can suppress mana users with his aura alone. But Ethan is already strong and experienced enough to fall for such tricks. He dispels the energy of the guild head with the help of his mana, and promises to prove that he is worthy of such conditions. Donald senses great potential in the hero and is surprised by such a powerful aura. He asks Linda to make new changes to the standard guild contract, promising to triple the reward if Ethan passes the test. Moreover, for completely passing the test, the hero is promised an additional 20 billion, and the hero can't wait to start. The test consists of a battle against 3 representatives of the guild. The head asks the participants not to overdo it and not kill each other. The hero's first rival is John. Despite his young age, he achieved impressive successes on the battlefields. Ethan refuses to use any weapons, stating that even hours will be enough for him. The head of the guild announces the start of the battle and wishes the participants a fair and beautiful fight. Ethan read about John in a magazine and knows that his superpower is based on his enormous speed of movement. Moreover, the opponent becomes stronger the longer he moves without stopping. Ethan understands that he needs to defeat the enemy as soon as possible, before he becomes too strong. John is in no hurry to attack. He clearly wants to gain as much energy as possible before striking. Running past Ethan, the opponent arrogantly threatens the hero and considers himself invincible. Finally, John decides to strike the first blow, jumping at the main character at great speed, raising his sword at the same time. But Ethan was just waiting for this. Unlike his opponent, he was extremely focused and managed to hit him right in the nose. Lily screams joyfully, and Linda is very surprised that the hero only needed 1 hit to win. Donald is pleasantly impressed by the spectacle and praises Ethan for his amazing results. John almost lost his life and is taken away for rehabilitation. The head of the guild thanks the hero for the reasonable use of force.
Ethan smiles at the remaining competitors and wishes them a fun challenge.
The hero's next opponent is a more experienced guild member named Buffalo. The hero noticed him in the stands and notes to himself that the knight is serious and ready to fight for life and death. Ethan takes a fighting stance. He is ready to start the fight and understands that the fight will not be easy. The Buffalo draws his sword, not yet revealing his real feelings towards the main character. This time, Ethan does not wait for the first attack from the enemy, but carries out a lightning attack first. Tightly gripping the watch in his hand, the hero tries to play on the clumsiness of his opponent in armor. Ethan delivers a mana-enhanced blow, but the tank covers itself with a shield at the last moment. The enemy immediately counterattacks, almost cutting off the protagonist's head. The Buffalo wants to use a shield attack before Ethan can get to his feet, but the hero has already run behind the enemy and is preparing to strike the next blow. Using his future experience, Ethan uses the Falcon's Claw technique. The Buffalo again manages to repel the attack. He did not expect such pressure from the newcomer and is sure that he trained a lot even before awakening. The knight raises his heavy sword to strike again, but Ethan turns out to be faster and dodges the blade whistling above his head. Taking advantage of a momentary gap in the enemy's defense, The hero hits the buffalo in the side with all his strength with his shoulder. Air comes out loudly from the knight's lungs. The blow is so strong that the heavy tank flies to the other side of the arena, demolishing trees along the way. The buffalo rises and pays tribute to Ethan. He turned out to be a formidable opponent. The main character was going to use magical skills only as a last resort. He wanted to keep them secret. But the cunning Donald clearly squeezed all the juice out of the hero to see his true potential. Buffalo likes the newcomer's pressure and says that he will ask him to join his team after testing is completed. Ethan clarifies who decides the issue of distributing newcomers to teams. The knight says that only the winner can decide, and the head of the guild confirms these words. The main character says that in this case, he wants to lead his own team if he can defeat the buffalo. Donald agrees to the conditions, but clarifies that in case of loss, the hero's monetary reward will be halved and the duration of the contract will increase. Using his knowledge from the future, Ethan begins to provoke Buffalo. He mentions that the knight is in love with Linda, the daughter of the head of the guild, and believes that this is why the big man wants Ethan to die. Having lost his temper, the tank activates Buffalo mode, in which his mana and physical endurance indicators become even higher. Having lost his cold mind, the Buffalo rushes towards the main character with the intention of trampling the insolent one. Ethan uses the lightning fist technique, charging his strike with a huge amount of mana. Luckily for him, the tank manages to block the blow with his shield. Otherwise, he would most likely lose his life. The buffalo again flies to the edge of the arena. Its shield is broken and smoking, and consciousness has left the body from the overload experienced. The main character sits down on the ground, simultaneously complaining about how difficult it is to make money in the modern world. He is unhappy that he lost so much strength after just one blow from the lightning fist, because in the future, he was much stronger. Without wasting any time, the hero sits in the lotus position to use the Great Sea of Mind technique and restore lost strength. Linda congratulates the newly appointed commander of the 7th team. The hero's next opponent is the head of the guild himself. He did not expect that the newcomer would be able to defeat the buffalo. Ethan immediately refuses to continue the test, greatly surprising Donald. The hero understands that after so many battles, he cannot defeat the experienced and extremely strong head of the guild and offers to proceed to signing the contract. In the office, Ethan clarifies that he would like to gradually recruit his own team of superhumans. He says that he has already found the right candidate. Lily. The girl looks up in surprise from the drawing of the chicken. Ethan asks the girl for one favor, to create the largest flame she can. The girl refuses because she hasn't eaten for a long time and is completely exhausted from hunger. Ethan instantly promises her a lot of delicious chicken for demonstrating Lily's abilities. Inspired by the promised lunch, the girl runs to the center of the room and begins to create magic. Linda is surprised by Lily's abilities. She did not suspect that the girl was also a Superman. Lily has achieved impressive results in controlling magic. Although the column of flame occupies almost the entire room, it does not scorch the heroes or the interior. The hero moves on to discuss the terms of the girl's contract, but she interrupts him and reminds him of the promised chicken. Finally, the contract with the new member of the 7th team is signed, and the girl enthusiastically enjoys the delicious fried legs. Linda offers a tour of the huge guild complex. The hero is not impressed with the equipment, because in the future he used much more advanced samples. But he liked the weapons workshop, especially since specialists can create special equipment to order. The hero chooses 2 blades that he likes for the first time, and asks whether the inspection of the building is completed. But Ethan's exit is blocked by the head of the guild. He asks the hero to go on an urgent call. Ethan thinks to himself that he wouldn't mind leaving early on the first day, but he agrees to continue working. A new gate has opened in the middle of a busy city street, and monsters are beginning to spread throughout the area. Teams of superhumans arriving at the scene encounter such monsters for the first time. By themselves, these slugs are extremely weak and do not pose a threat. But the stench emanating from the monster's mucus is so strong that it barely allows you to breathe. Lily can't concentrate. The pungent smell eats away at the girl's eyes and nose. Thanks to the hero's experience before rebirth, Ethan knows how to deal with this scourge. Using mana, he cuts off odors and shows the girl how to use this technique. Lily is immensely grateful to the teacher for such useful advice. It makes her feel much better. The hero's task is to collect living samples of monsters that can be sent for study. But inexperienced fighters kill the slugs. Ethan notices a monster trying to hide in the crown of a tree. With a strong kick, the hero knocks the slug down. The monster flies to the ground. Ethan carefully picks up the monster with magic and spins him around until he loses consciousness. And with a deft movement, he puts it into the bag. Collecting the 3 turns out to be an easy task for the hero. Ethan sends a report to Linda that the task has already been completed. and he is going back to headquarters with the necessary samples. Members of other guilds block his path. They get acquainted with the newcomer. One of the commanders notices that Ethan has already achieved impressive results. The team leader's armband is emblazoned on his right shoulder. This is the captain of the 5th team of the Black Hound Guild, the same one in which the hero worked before returning to the past. Moreover, this young upstart was Ethan's boss in a previous life. Lily stands to the side, barely able to hold the heavy bag with the monster inside. The rest of the mission participants ask to share living samples because they are unable to collect even one slug, and the situation is heating up. Linda monitors the situation on cameras and advises the hero not to obey, as this is a gross violation of the regulations. The rest of the commanders are already preparing for a fight. The hero understands that they will try to take his bag by force. Ethan is not going to give up without a fight and sits on the bag of loot. The commander of the Black Hound is just waiting for this. He is already ready to get involved in a fight. Ethan whispers to Lily to use fire magic to scare the rest of the superhumans on cue. The girl asks in surprise whether she should burn the people standing in front of her. The hero simply asks to set the earth on fire in order to discourage the rude people from taking away other people's prey. Suddenly the portal changes color, and the rumble from its depths becomes louder. The head of a huge slug appears from the gate. This one is clearly more dangerous than the others. The monster that has appeared already poses a serious threat. Its size is comparable to a small building. A member of another guild advises to stay away from the slug if Ethan does not want it to fly to him during the battle. The hero gladly follows the advice and invites Lily to take the bags of loot to the car. Meanwhile, the situation on the battlefield is becoming more and more desperate. The main character checks the situation and grins. Inexperienced superhumans will not be able to defeat the slug. The monster continues to gain the upper hand, destroying the city along the way. The defenders flee and panic. Ethan and Lily calmly wait for members of other guilds to leave the battlefield. Conventional weapons are ineffective. The monster's slime corrodes swords and armor. The monster manages to grab and immobilize one of the tanks that hesitated. He cannot extricate himself from the deadly grip and asks his comrades for help. Another second, and the slug will send the guy into its mouth full of sharp teeth. Ethan decides to intervene, cuts off the monster's tentacle, and reproaches the comrades of the guy in trouble. The hero knows a young man who was captured by a slug. 20 years later, he will become much stronger. Ethan leaves the rescued tank and tells Lily to prepare for battle. A wall of fire surrounds the battlefield, preventing other guild members from entering. The main character decides not to wait for support, because then the spoils will have to be divided among all participants in the battle. Linda asks Ethan to stop, because his life is much more important to the guild than some kind of loot. The main character is confident in his victory, because in the future there was already a guide to fighting monsters, which described the weaknesses and tactics of fighting monsters. Ethan knows that the slug's main weakness is its fear of fire, which is why he asked Lily to create a wall of flame. The hero launches an attack and asks the girl to cover him. Ethan begins to methodically chop off the monster's tentacles, which can quickly regenerate. The main character shouts to Lily that it is time for her to use fire magic. The girl burns the stumps of the monster so that it cannot restore its tentacles so quickly. The tactic works, but it is too early to celebrate victory, and the hero continues the attack. After the tentacles are cut off, the monster hides in its shell. He closes the only hole in the armor and begins to intensively repair the damage. Ethan took with him huge nails, part of the equipment provided by the guild. He explains that with their help, the heroes will be able to open the monster's strong shell. Ethan begins hammering nails into the slug's shell one after another. A few minutes later, the hero completes preparations for the final battle. He uses the Great Mind technique to enhance his final blow. With a powerful attack, Ethan finally splits the monster's strong armor, having spent almost all his strength on it, and flies off to the side. Luckily for the heroes, the monster loses consciousness, while Ethan comes to his senses to collect the precious loot. The girl kicks the main character to check if he is alive. Finally, Ethan gets up from the ground and begins to cut the slug into pieces, throwing the valuable meat into Lily's bag. With a devilish expression on his face, Ethan tells the girl that the monster's meat is soft and nutritious. He deftly wields his blade, trying to extract as much of the monster's mana-filled flesh as possible. Before ordering Lily to remove the wall of fire, the hero takes the most valuable ingredient from the slug carcass. The flames dissipate, and the arriving support team sees the defeated monster and unharmed heroes. The head of support asks the heroes how they managed to defeat such a strong monster. Ethan replies that he had to give it his all and only narrowly escaped death. Members of competing guilds cannot believe their eyes because they could not cope with the slug even with their joint efforts. Ethan asks the head of the support team to spare him the tedious cleaning up after the battle, because he has already spent a lot of energy. In gratitude for his good work, the hero buys Lily's favorite dish for dinner, fried chicken. The girl cannot believe in her happiness. It seems to her that she is sleeping. She rejoices and says that she is ready to catch snails every day for such a tasty reward. After a hard day, Ethan himself is glad to relax, eat delicious food, and drink cold beer. He loudly puts his glass on the table and swears obscenely. Lily thinks that this curse means enjoying delicious food, and repeats it after the hero. Ethan asks not to use unfamiliar words without knowing their meaning. The next morning, the hero again uses the great mind technique to recover. He is distracted by a call from Linda, who literally screams into the phone, because Ethan has not been in touch for several hours. The girl tells the hero that it's time for him to hire his own support team, which will include doctors, operators, and even secretaries. Not wanting to waste time on dozens of interviews, the guy asks Linda to select personnel to suit her taste. The girl is flattered by such trust and promises to recruit worthy employees. And the hero mentions that he would like to hire one Superman for the team, a tank from the Black Hound Guild, whom he saved in a battle with a giant slug. The next person to call Ethan is the head of the White House Guild himself. He offers the hero a 3-day break after such an exhausting battle with a powerful monster. Ethan is only too happy to miss a few days of work and quickly agrees. The hero invites Lily to celebrate the start of the weekend with a delicious dish. The girl immediately gets inspired, imagining a delicious chicken. But Ethan is going to cook a new dish from fresh ingredients obtained in yesterday's battle, even using the heart of a slug. A few hours later, the hellish snail meat soup is ready. Lily states that she is not hungry yet, after eating delicious chicken yesterday, and the soup looks threatening. The main character pretends that the dish turned out to be very tasty, and the little girl believes the teacher. He asks to finish Lily's portion, but she snatches the plate from his hands. The girl tries the first spoon and understands the bitter truth in every sense. The teacher cheated her. Lily laments, remembering the delicious dinner last night. Ethan calms her down, promising to please the girl with a new dish for dinner, pork belly. After lunch, the heroes go hunting for treasure, and Ethan on the way tells how the demons stuck on Earth after the opening of the gate settled in the secluded corners of the planet. Orcs, for example, united into a tribe and set up a camp in a deep forest not far from the city. In the center of their camp, there is a relic from another world, which the main character is hunting for. He uses binoculars to assess the situation from a safe distance. Ethan is about to infiltrate the camp and asks Lily to use magic when the hero gives the signal. He explains that if the torch in the orc camp goes out, it will be necessary to set fire to the exit from the settlement. Ethan uses his camouflage skill to sneak into orc territory unnoticed. Lily is also hidden from the eyes of prying eyes. She watches the hero from a convenient ledge and waits for a signal to act. The main character calmly passes the guards. Ordinary orcs are not able to sense mana. The relic is guarded by a dozen greenskins located around the perimeter of the statue. The hero does not consider them a threat and is ready to deal with the enemies alone. But the leader of the orcs emerges from his tent, a huge mutated monster who in the future brought many problems to humanity. The hero decides to act more carefully and picks up a stone from the ground and throws it into a torch standing nearby. Lily realizes that Ethan gave the signal he spoke about before going on the raid. As promised, the girl puts on a fire show at the entrance to the camp to distract the guards. Growling dissatisfied, the orc leader sends his subordinates to check what has happened. The hero decides to take advantage of the situation and quickly destroy the statue in order to take the treasure inside. But his plans are disrupted by a mutant orc. The thugs smelled the hero and went behind him to deal with the intruder. A swing of a huge sword almost cuts Ethan in half. The hero dodges only thanks to his superhuman reaction. The guy decides to retreat in order to carefully consider the second attempt and not fall victim to a mutant orc. Lily is surprised that Ethan was able to be spotted. The hero asks her to leave the position. Having made sure that the pursuers have fallen behind, the heroes sit down to catch their breath. Suddenly, Lily realizes that the place seems familiar to her. She points to the entrance to the cave. It was from where the heroine came out after the portal took her to Earth. The girl remembers that the thugs from whom Ethan saved her tried to catch her here. The hero guesses that we are talking about bandits from the Red Snake and assumes that this is their secret hideout. He decides to take advantage of such a lucky coincidence, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And he's going to take a look at the bandits' hideout from the inside, hoping to find something useful there. Lily refuses to go inside. She is afraid to meet the scary bandits again. Ethan suggests that she hide in the bushes with a walkie-talkie and keep an eye on the situation outside. The hero begins his journey into a dark cave. Using his camouflage skill, Ethan slips past the guards. Inside the cave, he discovers an entire underground laboratory, where about 3 dozen people work tirelessly. They produce some kind of white powder. The laboratory turns out to be quite large. Ethan realizes that they are producing a drug called Snake. This is a powerful substance that makes people go crazy after the first dose. The hero walks around the laboratory, counting the number of guards at the post. He discovers boxes with the finished substance, at least 50 kilograms of drugs worth a huge amount. The manager of the clandestine production reprimands the head of the laboratory for low performance, and he clumsily makes excuses. The hero watches with disgust the dismantling of the death merchants. The lights go out at the production site and the staff does not understand what is happening. The hero, in disguise, takes the drugs out of the cave. Only traces on the floor give him away. Ethan calls Lily to come out of hiding and prepare to escape. The girl jumps into the box with the drug. The hero will carry her on his shoulders. Finally, the laboratory guards catch up with the heroes. The leader demands to capture the fugitives, alive or dead. Without thinking twice, the guards begin to shoot at the heroes with all guns. But Ethan is too fast and not a single bullet catches him. Escaping from pursuit, the hero leads armed bandits into the territory of the orcs. The mutant orc recognizes Ethan by smell and becomes enraged. He doesn't like this impudent stranger. A minute later, the guards of the underground laboratory catch up with the heroes and meet the orcs face to face. Ethan orders Lily to get out of the box and the girl quickly obeys. The hero throws a box of drugs deep into the orc camp so that the guards will be motivated to enter dangerous territory. The bandits believe that Ethan has gone crazy and are trying to come up with a plan of action. For a second, the orcs are distracted by a box flying past, which lands in the middle of a crowd of green-skinned monsters. The security commander orders to deal with the monsters, leaving Ethan for later. The bandits, in a panic, begin to shoot at the advancing orcs. Surprisingly, firearms are effective against greenskins, but not against their leader, from whom bullets bounce off like peas. A mutated orc cuts down the helpless bandits with his sword one after another. The heroes can only watch as their enemies slaughter each other, making the hunt for the treasure much easier. Ethan carefully analyzes the situation and calculates the best time for a surprise attack. Finally, the last guard remains. He begs the huge orc to spare him. But such a thought does not even enter the leader's head. He deals with the last enemy and raises his sword high, celebrating the victory. Taking advantage of the fact that the mutant has lost his attention, Ethan thrusts his dagger into the monster's back, piercing right through its heart. Bleeding, the leader falls to his knees, and the hero thanks him for the work done. The orcs cannot believe their eyes. Their strongest representative fell at the hands of an ordinary person. In panic, the crowd begins to scatter in different directions, not wanting to share the fate of their leader. Finally, the hero gets to the desired statue and begins to wield the hammer. After some time, he retrieves the relic stored inside. These are 2 bracelets that grant the ability to use a shield in exchange for a small amount of mana. The hero puts one bracelet on his hand, which instantly adapts the size to the wrist of the new owner. Ethan gives the second bracelet to Lily, so he can keep an eye on the girl from a distance, not to mention the useful properties of the artifact. Lily is delighted with the gift. She likes its skillful execution. The girl examines the bracelet from all sides, and Ethan, meanwhile, removes the skin from the killed orc leader. It will be useful for making new armor. Before leaving, Ethan asks Lily to burn down the orc camp, promising that they are almost finished and will soon go home. Lily lights a fire in her hands, preparing a powerful spell. She gives it her all, shouting something about delicious food, for which the girl is ready to do anything. The main character notes to himself that hungry Lily is capable of terrible things, and he should be careful. The heroes return to the underground laboratory to finish what they started. Along the way, Ethan demonstrates how the bracelet works so the girl can learn in the field. Lily tries to use her bracelet. The hero suggests that with practice the girl can create a shield of any shape. Cunning Lily comes up with her own way to use the shield. She crushes the guards with a clot of energy. One of the bandits asks to take pity on him and promises to tell everything the heroes need about the group. But Ethan is only interested in the location of the safe with money and precious things. Having cleared the laboratory, the heroes undermine it in order to stop the production of the drug, and at the same time cover their tracks. Ethan thinks that the raid turned out even better than expected, because he managed not only to get a powerful artifact, but also to get money and valuable items out of the laboratory. The hero tells Lily that she can already remove the shield that covers the fugitive bandits if the girl has finished blowing up the laboratory. The hero calls one of the bandits Rice Pie and orders him to follow him. He forces the rest to voluntarily surrender at the nearest security post. Otherwise, he threatens to kill every bandit. The thugs follow the order and surrender to the military guarding the forbidden territory. Ethan thinks that most likely the police will have questions and the thugs may tell about the hero's adventures. He does not want to quarrel with a certain powerful titan in this life and decides to establish connections with him. On the way home, Ethan thinks that Lily did a great job today and deserves a delicious dinner. The girl spent a lot of energy on the outing and is throwing a tantrum in the middle of the forest. She is so hungry. Dissatisfied, Lily makes a complaint to the main character. He promised to feed her something no less tasty than chicken. The hero shows the contents of the package, but the girl is skeptical. Ethan asks Pi to grill pork belly with garlic and olives. The dish tastes as delicious as it looks. Lily really likes the new sensations and even compares the pork breast to her favorite chicken. 4 days off passed very quickly, and the hero begins to take care of business. He buys a plot of land on which his temporary shelter is located. Swinging on a hammock, Ethan orders Pi to build a log house, and the former criminal happily gets to work. He thanks Ethan for not taking his life and allowing him to start living by honest work. Ethan says he'll let Hot Pi go after just 3 years of hard work, and Lily praises his cooking skills. Holding back tears, the former bandit continues to build a new home for his saviors. Linda volunteers to be an assistant to the new 7th team of the White House Guild. She hands Ethan a thick folder of documents that he needs to study before the end of the day. Linda also introduces the hero to a new task. This is clearing the gates. Portals are divided into 2 types. The first ones open and close after some time. The second ones will not close until superhumans enter them to clean them up. To close a Type B gate, someone must get inside and destroy the core powering the portal. Ethan recognizes the gate from the photograph. This is one of the catastrophic gates, the Gate of Fallen Spirits. In the future, the hero was an instructor, and always cited these gates as a sad example. Many superhumans died while completing the task of closing them. Linda suggests transferring the task to other teams if the hero does not want to work side by side with representatives of competing guilds. But Ethan assures her that there will be no problems. The heroes arrive at the Blackhound Guild building, and the driver bows deeply to the hero as he leaves the car. Ethan asks not to do this. He is embarrassed by this attitude of people who are honest and hardworking. The driver promises that he will remember the hero's request. On the threshold of the heroes, they are met by Kyle, a representative of the Blackhound Guild. They sit down at the negotiating table, where the fate of Arthur, the tank Ethan wants to hire for his team, will be decided. Linda starts the conversation and mentions that the 5 billion figure may be slightly exaggerated. But Kyle interrupts her and says that the conditions have changed. Now he is asking twice as much for termination of the contract, 10 billion. Ethan believes that this is a provocation, and the guild members are deliberately running into conflict. Kyle smiles and says that the hero apparently doesn't need Arthur that much. He adds that Lily should go to an ambulance, since the shelf life of the pie she was fed has long expired. Ethan cannot stand such impudence and slaps Kyle in the face. One of the members of the Blackhound Guild comes to the defense of the boss. He is ready for a fight. Ethan delivers dozens of blows with great speed, instantly immobilizing the insolent man. With the final blow, the hero sends him into the corridor, knocking out the door. Ethan demands to end the circus and call the head of the guild. Although Linda is trying to stop the hero from rash actions, she clearly looks pleased. The hero looks at Arthur threateningly and says that he will deal with the tank later. Killer energy spreads throughout the negotiation room. This is the head of the Blackhound Guild arriving in person to discuss matters with Ethan. Jin overpowers everyone in the room with his blood-red aura, giving off only an unsettling sense of menace. The hero brushes off the dark energy of the chapter and asks to be left alone with him. Ethan tells Lily to go with Linda and wait in the hallway until he finishes, and the girl asks permission to burn the entire building to the ground. She doesn't like it here so much. Ethan orders her not to joke like that again, and adds that if she plays with fire, she will never get chicken again. Ethan directly asks what the head of the guild wants from him in exchange for Arthur. Jin likes this approach and invites the hero to join the guild. Ethan notices that he has excellent conditions in the White House Guild, and the head of the Hound will have to pay a huge sum for the transition. But Jin wants to get the hero not as an ordinary employee, but as a spy for the affairs of the White House Guild. The head of the Black Hound promises a generous reward for transmitting information, and he threatens the hero with physical harm if he refuses. Donald screams loudly on the street. He challenges Gene to a fight, threatening him with problems if he refuses. The head even took a weapon with him. He is ready to forcefully pull such a valuable hero out of the tenacious clutches of his competitors. But Ethan is already on the street. From behind, he asks Donald what he is doing at the Hound Guild and why he is so aggressive. The head of the White House Guild explains that his daughter told him about the conflict, and he immediately came to help. But the hero assures that everything worked out with sincere apologies, and he was even given gifts. In fact, Ethan resorted to a risky but effective trick. He used his knowledge of the future and mentioned that information about Jin's affair with his brother's fiancée could become public knowledge. Ethan adds that problems can be avoided if the head agrees to the hero's conditions. At the White House Guild headquarters, Donald continues to be indignant. He threatens to kill Jean. The enraged head is besieged by his daughter, and Ethan notices that Lily has become suspiciously quiet. The hero reminds Lily that it is not necessary to use fire every time to resolve a conflict. In the Gaian language, the girl says that she is hungry again, and that is why she is behaving this way. Linda guesses that Lily has been very stressed during the day and is probably a little depressed. But Ethan calms the girl down and says that Lily's mood can be easily fixed with fried chicken. The hero thinks to himself that his decision to join the White House Guild was correct, because the head himself was ready to fight to pull the hero out of the clutches of the Black Hound Guild. The next day, Arthur arrives at the team's field camp ahead of schedule. He apologizes for the problems with the contract. He was forced to redraw the contract by force. The hero seats the tank at the table, hands him a glass of tea, and asks him to call him Commander from now on. Arthur agrees, and Ethan reflects on the fate of the young man. In the Black Hound, he was called a weakling and treated with contempt. Arthur tries to demonstrate his skills to the hero. The tank is sure that he is practically useless. But 10 years later, the guy was destined to become a hero respected throughout the world, nicknamed the Moving Fortress. Ethan tests Arthur's body for strength. He has already met such a Superman and knows what they can be capable of. The hero promises Arthur that in a year or even 6 months, he will become the best tank in the country. The newcomer is grateful to the commander. Ethan already appears as a saint in the eyes of Arthur. By this point, Pi is finishing the special dish Ethan ordered. The soup from the monster's organs and inner core, as always a healthy food for superhumans, looks terrifying. The whole team looks into the pan in horror. Ethan says that everyone will need to eat 3 plates. 2 days later, the entire team sets out on a mission to hone their skills before an expedition into the gate. Ethan fights a one-horned tiger, and Arthur stands behind him, afraid to move. The main character orders the tank to do its job, because it must take the brunt of the damage. Ethan sends Arthur into close combat, suggesting that he needs to immobilize the tiger. The tank activates stone armor on the way to the enemy. His body gradually turns into a block. Arthur wraps his arms around the massive monster's front paw and tries to hold it in place. With its free paw, the tiger strikes at the back of the tank. An ordinary person would have been torn to pieces long ago. The pain brings tears to Arthur's eyes. He is almost ready to give up, but Ethan knows how to intimidate the team. He threatens with 6 bowls of soup from monster organs. Then Lily should enter the battle. The hero orders to begin. The girl protests and declares that she refuses to attack, since the main character does not feed her chicken. Ethan promises that he will buy Lily's favorite snack for dinner, and she rushes into the attack, forgetting about the bickering. A column of flame escapes from the girl's hands. For the sake of the chicken, she is ready to incinerate anyone who gets in her way. Finally, the huge tiger is defeated, its corpse cooling in the middle of the roadway. Lily overdid it, and almost turned the monster into ember, so it won't be possible to collect samples. And Ethan asks headquarters for the coordinates of the remaining tigers. The monsters are 2 kilometers from the hero's team, and they will have to hurry if Ethan wants to arrive at the place before the Warriors Guild. The hero orders the team members to move to the place, and he himself accelerates to arrive first. Cutting through the air, he hurries to take the prey before his competitors. On the way, he notes that he's already made significant progress thanks to training and food saturated with mana. The members of the Warriors Guild have almost reached the one-horned tiger, but Ethan rushes behind them and shouts that he will take on the monster. The hero uses the crescent body technique and quickly attacks the monster. The blade sparkles in his hand. Ethan's eyes look for the tiger's weak point and strike to kill. A second later, the monster is defeated. The members of the Warriors Guild are only wondering who this Superman is. Ethan reports the end of the hunt and asks for the coordinates of the next monsters. Lily learns to control her power, and this time kills the monster more carefully so that samples can be collected from it. The support team of the 7th Squad arrives at the scene. It consists of medics, operators, and equipment specialists who get to work. The head of the medical team asks if anyone needs urgent help. Ethan replies that everything is fine, and only Lily was slightly burned. While the operator shows the commander a spectacular scene that was captured using a drone, the equipment specialist helps the hero replace worn-out armor. Linda is pleased with herself. She managed to hire some of the best in the support team of the 7th Division. Ethan thanks his subordinates for their excellent work and promises bonuses and extra days off after the task of closing the gate. He asks all employees to continue in the same spirit because his life depends on their coordinated work. The whole team is delighted with such warm words from the commander, and the cameraman says that he filmed the leader's impressive speech. Ethan's driver notes that he is popular among his subordinates. The hero explains that he worked his way up from the very bottom and knows how important words of encouragement and additional bonuses are for maintaining performance. He himself was a puppet in the hands of the head of the Black Hound Guild and does not want the same fate for the members of his team. Linda informs the hero that preparations for the mission to close the gate are almost completed. The equipment will be ready in a few days. She was also able to find someone who the main character was interested in. This is a child, a Superman with a specialization in the production of equipment. Lily dresses up in a cute dress. Her mission today is extremely important. The heroes go to recruit a newcomer to the guild's team of specialists. They come to an unremarkable hairdresser. Ethan sits down in a chair and explains to a middle-aged woman what hairstyle he wants for himself. At this time, Lily pretends to be an ordinary restless child. Ethan asks her to be more careful with the toys that litter the hairdressing salon. The girl finds a toy chicken that she loves to eat for dinner. The hairdresser is not against the girl taking the toy for herself, because her son makes new ones every day. Harry suffers from a rare savant syndrome. He is extremely poorly socialized, but already at 13 he becomes a brilliant inventor and a jack of all trades.
Ethan believes that he will have to carefully approach the boy, and first he needs to go to the hairdresser more often.
Testing Harry for sensitivity to superhumans, the hero uses mana. The boy instantly detects fluctuations in energy. He leaves his workshop to check what's going on, and his mother is extremely surprised by this behavior, because usually a boy cannot be pulled out of the room. Lily realizes that the time has come to put Ethan's cunning plan into action. She flies up to the boy and asks how he could make such a cute toy. Harry answers the girl hesitantly. He doesn't often communicate with children his age. Lily continues to play the role and never stops showering the boy with compliments about his talent. The embarrassed guy tries to answer something, but the words get stuck in his throat. Ethan notes that the promise of 4 servings of chicken does wonders for Lily's productivity. The boy's mother was simply amazed by her son's activity. She had never seen him talk so much to anyone. The main character notices that, judging by the look, Harry has already fallen in love with Lily, and therefore makes contact. The boy immediately joins the guild as an equipment specialist, just so as not to be separated from Lily. A few days later, the girl already received her updated costume. Harry embroidered chicken and pizza on the sleeves. Lily's and Harry's favorite foods. Arthur is jealous of the heroes. With his ability, the form is of no use to him. Most likely it will simply tear on his petrified body. Linda reports that the support squad has completed all the necessary preparations, and Ethan orders the team to move out. Upon arrival, the heroes are greeted with unpleasant news. Representatives of other guilds have already left for the portal. The guard was told that the order of the teams had changed, because the White House Guild was delayed on the road. Ethan suggests leaving the unnecessary bickering and just sticking with the original plan. Linda laments the missed opportunity, because the others are most likely already finishing clearing the gate. But the main character does not give up. He offers to go in and check it out for yourself. For convenience, the entire squad moves in cars and moves quickly enough. Even after 2 hours, they did not find any monsters or people inside the gate. Ethan is the first to notice suspicious activity ahead and orders him to stop. He goes out to investigate the situation, leaving Arthur to look after the cars. The peculiarity of the Fallen Spirits dungeon is that unwary people risk turning into zombies. Ethan orders Arthur to activate the stone armor and start attacking the zombies, because if the monsters scratch any other member of the team, he himself will turn into a zombie. Encouraging the tank, the main character gives him a magical slap charged with mana. Arthur begins to use his ability, and the hero notices that the training has benefited the tank. Its armor becomes thicker and covers almost the entire body. In the middle of the battle, Ethan reminds Arthur that before him, there are still people whose minds are clouded, and it is impossible to kill them. The tank tries to attack the zombies in such a way as to deprive them of consciousness, but not of life. Arthur was overjoyed. He was finally able to hit the monster, and it turned out to be not as scary as he thought. Lily gets impatient, bored, and suggests burning the zombies, but Ethan forbids it. The operator does not waste time. He records what is happening on camera. These video materials can be used in court to compensate for competitors breaking the queue. The equipment specialist prepares special protective suits for the entire team, and the head of the doctors takes out a suitcase with the vaccine, which Ethan asks to take with him. Arthur gradually begins to lose strength. He was able to fight off most of the members of the Red Shark Guild. Even though they have become zombies, their strength remains at the level of superhumans, and the tank will not last longer. Ethan gets involved and begins to render the monsters unconscious using a special technique. Arthur is surprised by the commander's skill and is imbued with even greater respect for the experience of such a young commander. A few minutes later, Ethan completes the cleanup. All the zombies lie motionless. The hero asks Arthur to arrange the victims in a row. The tank begins to carry out the order. Ethan carefully prepared for the task and asked to bring a vaccine against zombie poison for a reason. Members of competing guilds have been under the influence of the poison for much more than half an hour, so even after the antidote takes effect, they will be weak in their thinking for some time. Ethan asks the team to step aside to concentrate on the next technique. He begins programming zombies to help his team. The hero recalls the experience gained in the future. On one of the worlds he visited, he learned to control the minds of animals with low mental abilities. This skill is perfect for the current situation. Ethan orders the zombies to obey him and his command. From half-dead people, zombies under the influence of technology become like crazed fans of the protagonist. The first task for the new team members is to hunt bees that inject zombie poison into the blood of people. For this, Ethan asks to capture suits that protect against insect attacks. Arthur catches the queen zombie bees, and Ethan allows Lily to finish off the remaining insects with fire magic, and then offers them a snack. Having heard about the food, the girl cannot contain her emotions, and a column of flame bursts out of her hands, incinerating everything that falls under a powerful spell. A member of the equipment team wonders how the Shark Guild representatives agreed to help their competitors so easily, but the main character says that they are simply grateful to him for saving him. The check of the insect suits is completed. The queen bee is captured, and the hero orders to continue the journey through the gate. The way for Ethan's team is blocked by members of the Warriors Guild. They also turned into zombies after being stung by bees. The hero acts according to a proven scheme, and creates even more assistance for himself, who will be useful in a dangerous adventure. Ethan begins to be overcome by doubts. The great and terrible gates of the fallen spirits seem too simple to him. On the fourth day, a member of the support team notices that the monsters managed to gobble up all the food supplies during the night. The team quickly finds the culprits behind the loss of food: huge demonic rats. Lily orders her zombie allies to destroy the arrogant monsters. The main character thinks that so far everything is going smoothly, but there is no need to relax, because the most powerful monsters are located closer to the center of the dungeon. And the intermediate boss doesn't keep you waiting. It's a huge bat with a magic mirror between its horns. Ethan orders the attack to begin, sends a tank ahead, and orders the others to provide support from afar. The mirror hypnotizes ordinary people and forces them to fight on the side of the bat, but brainwashed zombies don't care about such magic. The bat's minions also go on the offensive. Ethan warns Arthur not to look in the mirror, but the tank freezes in place for another reason. It is simply afraid to go on the attack. The hero asks Lily to put up a wall of fire to stop the advance of the mouse's minions. The girl suggests burning the entire room, but Ethan stops her. The main character grabs Lily in his arms and uses the disguise skill to attack the mouse on the sly. The hero tries to reach the monster with throwing knives, but the nimble mouse dodges the attack. Turning around, the monster uses a magic mirror in an attempt to take over the minds of the protagonist and Lily. Ethan manages to cover the girl's eyes and turn away so as not to fall under the influence of powerful magic. The hero returns to the support team to regroup and watch the mouse from afar. He explains the plan to capture the dangerous monster to his subordinates. The main character goes forward, observing the situation in the dark rooms of the dungeon. He notices a mouse and orders the team to get ready. Zombie allies use thick shields that protect them and the rest of the team from attacks from the mouse and its minions. The supermen enslaved by the mouse advance as if they do not notice the obstacle.
Taking advantage of the fact that the monster was left without support, the main character tries to reach it in the air, but misses.
Lily comes into play and sends a dozen fireballs towards the enemy, but the mouse has the agility and speed to dodge the projectiles. The smug monster flies away. A semblance of a smile appears on its face. Taking advantage of the fact that the mouse has lost its attention, the hero uses a bracelet to create a shield right in front of the monster, and it crashes into the obstacle with all its might. Lily lifts the hero to the ceiling using the magic of the second bracelet. Finally, Ethan cuts off the bat's head in a swift motion. He rejoices. Another obstacle on the way to the gate core is left behind, and besides, the artifact from the mouse's head will be useful to the hero in the future. Finally, the heroes reach the end of the dungeon. Zombie allies open the heavy gates of the huge hall. In the center of the room stands a figure in a long cloak, the monster's face hidden by a hood. Finally, the figure begins to move. The hall is illuminated by a bright light, and the team sees an ancient skeleton nicknamed the Spirit Hunter. Arthur and a crowd of zombie allies begin to close the distance. While jumping, the tank activates the petrification ability. But the hunter strikes with his huge sword. It has enough power to easily throw away the heavy Arthur. Ethan notes that the tank has become much braver. its abilities have increased significantly. The skeleton uses a powerful spell that turns everyone under its influence into puppets. Luckily, the brainwashed zombies are immune to this kind of magic and continue to attack the hunter. In addition, Ethan creates additional protection for Arthur with the help of a mirror obtained from a bat. The spirit hunter begins to cast the next more powerful spell, Devil's Summon. Demonic monkeys appear from numerous portals, the mere sight of which gives you goosebumps. Using his knowledge, the hero prepared for such a situation. Lily becomes his ace in the hole. The girl instantly incinerates the little demons, and their owner begins to understand that tactics need to be changed. Lily can't wait to finish passing the gate, because her favorite fried chicken is waiting for her outside. Even the ancient demon is lost from this turn of events. It seems he doesn't know how to proceed. Ethan praises Lily for effectively getting rid of dangerous monkeys and puts her in charge of such cases in the future. The enraged hunter throws his huge sword at the heroes. Arthur is still sitting on the blade. It seems that the horrors of the dungeon and ancient magic had a bad influence on the tank's head. He does not stop kissing the spirit hunter's sword. The main character sends his newly acquired minions to attack the skeleton. His goal is to close the gate as efficiently as possible with minimal effort, so he waits on the sidelines. And he decides to join only after the zombie allies have exhausted the enemy. An hour later, the skeleton emits a roar of despair, which seems to have reached the very entrance to the dungeon. The hero decides that it is time for him to join the fight and uses the whistle to order the zombies to retreat. Ethan turns to the ancient monster and invites him to finally end the fight. The hunter swears in a language unfamiliar to the hero, but it seems the demon called Ethan a cowardly bastard. The skeleton begins a series of powerful blows, each of which could easily make a hole in a stone wall, not to mention a human body. The hero understands that a creature of such a high level cannot be influenced by the Mirror of Illusions, but Ethan's goal is only to distract the skeleton's attention. The plan works. The demon is distracted by the artifact for a split second, and the main character takes advantage of this. He uses the lightning strike fist technique, instantly closing the distance and delivering the final blow. The armor of the ancient monster cannot withstand the load and crumbles. Inside, there is a glowing blue crystal. In a past life, the hero did not have the opportunity to fight with the spirit hunter, and he is pleasantly surprised by the discovery. Ethan knows that this jewel is a spiritual stone, allowing the owner to perform a miracle. Pulling the artifact out of the enemy's chest, the hero thanks the skeleton for such valuable loot. The guy is already immersed in his fantasies about how he will dispose of the stone, and Lily asks if they can go back. With the help of the relic, the hero will be able to use the transformation skill, which will strengthen his body several hundred times and allow him to better master martial arts. But Ethan doesn't need training. He plans to use the stone to prolong his life, so that he can enjoy his vacation for as long as possible after retirement. Lily loses patience, approaches the hero, and asks how tasty the stone is and whether it is edible in principle. The hero replies that the stone is dangerous to eat and you can die from it, although Lily is sure that Ethan just tried to swallow it himself. The hero is trying to come up with an excuse for his actions on the fly, and the girl intends to wait for an answer, but Ethan stops mid-sentence. He notices that the stone literally melted in his fingers and disappeared. The hero freezes in his tracks. He stops noticing Lily and stops responding to her questions. The guy falls to his knees. His gaze is blurred, and the girl asks if he needs medical help after the fight. The hero internally laments the lost profit, even if he would have decided not to use the stone. He could have sold it for a lot of money, but a sudden sound distracts him from these thoughts. He notices that the hands of the clock given to him in a past life have begun to move. Not understanding what such a turn could lead to, Ethan is not happy about his discovery. Disappointing reports appear in the news about the foray into the gates of the fallen spirits. 10 days have already passed since the start of the mission, and Linda is worried about the heroes. They should have returned a long time ago. The girl is distracted from her sad thoughts by a question from a man who approaches. This is Linda's uncle, Jack, and he asks the girl to go home and rest, promising to get Ethan and his team out of the gate alive. The niece does not doubt her relative's strength, but asks him to be as careful as possible on such a dangerous task. Jack and his team approach the portal. The leader orders the mission to begin. Suddenly, the portal begins to make loud noises and begins to move. Ethan appears from the gate carrying a starving Lily on his back, and behind him the rest of the team moves in cars. In a fit of emotion, Linda rushes to hug the hero she has been waiting for almost a week. Ethan is embarrassed and asks to let him go, especially since Lily almost fell off the hero's back. Linda refuses the guy's request because she was very worried about the heroes. On the way home, Ethan's driver tells how the whole country was following the fate of the 7th team. The hero looks out the window, wondering if it rained in the city during the foray through the gates. The driver replies that there was no rain and the rainbow appeared 4 days ago. Ethan is sure that magic is involved in this and he does not like such a bad sign. He knows that the rainbow will soon begin to gradually disappear until it disappears completely, after which the great disaster will begin, the night of the 7 moons, during which hundreds of portals will open from which demons of all stripes will fall. In the past, the hero barely survived. He managed to hide in a bunker and wait out the disaster, but now the disaster of fire is on his side and he decides to change the course of events. Ethan himself has become stronger and more experienced. He is already superior to his future self, and the magic watch absorbed the energy of the magic stone, making the hero even more powerful. Lily dresses up in an elegant dress, noting that she is going to eat a lot and the outfit is tight at the waist. Ethan invites the girl to change into overalls, but she says that they are ugly. It turns out Linda was outraged that Lily's wardrobe only contains tracksuits, and the dress was her gift to the girl. In honor of the heroes returning safe and sound from such a dangerous mission, the guild throws a party. Donald hugs Ethan tightly, and the hero complains that such hugs will kill him faster than any monsters from the gate. Linda compliments Lily on her dress, which suits her very well. Harry is also present at the party and invites the girl to dinner. Naturally, Lily immediately agrees. Linda thinks to herself that Harry most likely fell in love. She smiles at this thought. Lily and Harry leave for dinner, the girl chatting all the way about her favorite food. All the guests and Ethan himself like the party, and he thinks that he could not even dream of such an attitude in the Black Hound Guild. The hero is distracted from his thoughts by Donald calling him from behind. The head of the guild, liberated from alcohol, asks the main character what he dreams of. He is interested in the aspirations of young people. The hero replies that he plans to save a lot of money, retire, and build himself a mansion of 9,000 square meters, relaxing carefree after many years of hard work. This answer surprises Donald, because he expected to hear about unsurpassed power, rare artifacts or immortality, and not about retirement. Linda says Ethan has a great goal. Donald begins to invite the hero to train with him to gain incredible strength. But Linda interrupts her father. The hero reflects that he planned to use knowledge of the future to avoid dangers, but now he has become stronger and acquired reliable comrades. He decides that even great disasters can be beneficial. The heroes go on vacation to the lake, and the head of the guild is surprised that such a beautiful place is located in forbidden territory. He takes off his shirt and runs into the lake with his pants on. Donald hasn't gone on vacation in nature for a long time. Linda calls Ethan. She sits in only a swimsuit on the shore. The girl asks to put sunscreen on her back because she can't reach it herself. Ethan invites her to practice stretching because the hero can reach his back without problems. The guy suggests Linda turn to Arthur or Pi for help. The girl notes that she never met Pi and clarifies what he does on the team. The guy says his real name, but says that Linda can call him Rice Cake. The girl is embarrassed and says that she doesn't know enough yet to call him that. Ethan threatens to rename the servant Pi with whipped internal organs if he does such a stupid thing again. Having finished the conversation, the main character invites the head of the guild to swim in a race. Donald agrees. Linda starts the competition by throwing a pebble into the water. Both participants take off, rowing vigorously at incredible speed. Ethan thinks to himself that Donald is the first Superman, and he is very fast. The head of the guild confidently takes the lead, and the hero is no longer confident of his victory. Suddenly, Donald sees something underwater and stops. A giant octopus emerges from the lake, clearly about to snack on human flesh. The head of the guild is outraged by this behavior of the arrogant monster. Donald bursts out of the water and raises his formidable fist over the monster. Enraged that the octopus interrupted the competition, the head unleashes all his power on the sea monster. The deep sea hunter did not expect such agility from his prey and stops the attack, and Donald is just getting started. A series of fast and powerful blows literally crushes the monster's body. Ethan, floating nearby, notes that the leader fights with his bare hands. A few minutes later, the defeated monster floats to the surface, its body littered with dents from blows of incredible force. Ethan says that he did not expect a monster to appear in such a place, but Donald did not relax in the Forbidden Zone. The guild leader suggests turning back to check on the others on the shore, while Ethan remains to inspect the bottom of the lake. The hero has already cleared the shore and is not worried about his comrades, and Donald asks him to return for dinner. Using the power of the bracelet, the hero creates a shield around his head, which will allow him to safely explore the lake. He is sure that the giant octopus was not the most dangerous monster in the lake, and the real test will begin at the bottom. The hero is also sure that the most valuable treasures are always located near great danger and continues to dive. The guy finds the entrance to an underwater cave and plans to return later, taking Lily with him. But his plan is not destined to come true. Out of the corner of his eye, the hero notices movement. An unknown force begins to pull Ethan deeper. The hero tries to resist and rows with all his might. The force of the flow is so great that even the shield around the head shatters into fragments. The hero is pulled into a cave, loses control of his movements and curses. Almost losing consciousness, Ethan remembers that he promised his comrades to return soon. On the shore, Harry brings Lily a tasty drink. He asks her to drink it before the main character returns, and forces them to eat the healthy stuff. They do not suspect that the hero has disappeared in the depths of a mysterious cave. A drop of cold water falling from the ceiling brings Ethan to his senses. He hears voices and opens one eye to assess his surroundings. 3 mysterious creatures hover in the air next to the hero. Their leader asks where the stranger came from and what he needs in the cave. Ethan gets up and easily tears the seaweed that was tied around him so that he would not escape. The creatures begin to panic. They are sure that the hero has evil intentions and now they will come to an end. The embarrassed main character calms the little ones and assures them that he will not harm them. Ethan recalls his experience as a guide on the continent of Nostal, where he first met the same harmless fairies, snowflakes. He begins to speak to the creatures in their native language, and the surprised fairies fly closer. The hero thinks that in the future snowflakes were not seen on Earth, and the course of events could change greatly. He asks the magical creatures how they ended up in this cave. The fairies tell Ethan about a carefree life in the lake until they were transported to another dimension. They remember with horror how the huge octopus that Donald recently dealt with devoured their relatives. So the snowflakes moved into this cave and finally lived in safety. The hero sympathizes with the fairies about their plight, calming himself down. There was no information about them because they were practically exterminated. They complain about fate. In the cave, they do not have enough sunlight and they are weakening, and they cannot get to the surface because of the octopus. But the hero tells the fairies that the monster is already dead. Magical creatures do not believe Ethan, and he invites them to verify the veracity of his words for themselves. Snowflakes can determine whether a person is lying with the help of their magic, and the green light convinces the fairies of the truthfulness of the hero's words. In a fit of joy, the creatures begin to circle above the protagonist's head, and he asks them to stop before he vomits. On the way out of the cave, the fairies announce Ethan as their new friend, and he thinks about going to the bottom of the lake. The hero's original goal was the jar of unearthly power, which is guarded by a mysterious and powerful guard. But instead, he got along with the snowflakes. Ethan wonders how much revenue a theme park with fairies would bring in if he opened one on the lake. Dreaming of fabulous profits, the hero does not notice the trap about which the snowflake warns him. At the last second, Ethan manages to jump over a switch hidden in the floor. The hero thinks to himself that without the fairies, he would have had a hard time on the way back. Magical creatures ask to stop to say hello to their friend, who allowed them to live in the cave. Ethan asks if the fairy's companion looks like a short white robot. Snowflake replies that this is exactly what he looks like, and thanks to his strength, the octopus could not reach the fairies in the cave. The hero decides to wait until the fairies say goodbye to their friend, but the company has already reached the right place. The robot slowly rolls out into the middle of the hall, despite its harmless appearance. It is a formidable guard who protects an ancient relic. The snowflake's friend reports that he has discovered an intruder and must close the passage to the room. The giant steel doors begin to move with a loud roar, cutting off the path to retreat. Meanwhile, the robot assessed the danger posed by the intruder and took the appropriate form. Ethan asks the fairies if they are sure that the robot is their friend because he intends to destroy the main character.
The small, harmless robot is already transformed into a huge fighting machine, resembling both a human and an insect.
Ethan decides to check the watch, whose power has increased after absorbing the magic stone in the gate of the fallen friend. The robot is the first to attack. He tries to strike with his sharp claws, each of which is almost the size of the main character. The hero barely manages to repel the attack with his new watch armor. He understands that the opponent's weight greatly exceeds his own, but the armor did an excellent job of repelling the blow, and the chances of winning are great. The blow was so strong that part of the mechanical guard's claw was torn off and he reassessed the threat. Ethan is not going to wait for the new robot form. The hero attacks first. The robot activates its self-healing ability to repair damage received and restore its combat capability. The hero did not expect such a turn. He thinks that defeating the mechanical guard will be more difficult than he imagined. Having restored the damage, the robot begins to chase the main character around the hall. Ethan decides to break through the wall to return to the surface and bring help with him. Unexpectedly, one of the fairies stands between the robot and the main character and asks the guard to stop. Snowflake tells the robot that Ethan helped her and her relatives and does not need to be destroyed. In the robot's system, the fairy is marked as a target that cannot be destroyed. Taking advantage of the moment, the main character delivers a crushing blow directly to the guard's head. Snowflake is shocked. She did not expect such an act from Ethan. In horror, she screams that they are all friends and friends don't do that. The fairies unanimously bent over the immobilized robot. They think that it is completely defeated. The snowflakes confront the hero for killing their friend, to which the hero retorts that he is also their friend. Ethan sits down next to the robot and asks the guard if the hero has proven his qualifications. The chest compartment of the relic defender opens. The main character removes the key from there. The fairies remove Ethan from their friend list for killing their first friend. The main character says that the robot is still alive and can be restored. Fairy magic confirms his words. Ethan rejoices at the find, and with the restoration of the golem, he can help Harry with his super ability to handle equipment. The hero continues his journey to another room in search of the relic. Sometime later, Ethan finds the long-awaited jug with the elixir of life. The hero is simply delighted. Potions had not yet been invented at this time, but he had already found one of the most powerful. The guy imagines how he will save humanity on the night of the first disaster of the 7 moons. He greedily swallows the elixir. One of the fairies flies to the smell of the delicious drink and asks him to try it. Ethan shares a few drops of the magic drink with the snowflake. Her body is filled with a magical glow, and the hero is surprised by such a strange effect. The fairy thinks that her body has become lighter, and Ethan notices that she has decreased in size. Finally, the hero emerges from the depths of the lake. He thinks that the sun has heated the water quite strongly. But raising his head, Ethan realizes that it was not the sun that heated the surface of the water. It was Lily who created a huge fiery whirlwind, which seemed to be able to drain the lake to the bottom. The girl is surprised to notice the main character, who has risen from the depths. Ethan asks Lily to stop using fire magic and go downstairs. Donald from the shore asks where the main character has been for so long. Ethan explains that the situation at the bottom of the lake was extremely important. Linda and Arthur run to the shore. They ask if their commander has been found. The girl rushes into Ethan's arms and asks where he went. The fairies decide that the hero is in danger, and the head of the guild, in turn, sees danger in the snowflakes. An enraged Lily headbutts Ethan in the chest as he walks, asking him where he was. The girl begins to beat the hero with her fists. She says that she was very worried about him and she shouldn't disappear so suddenly. And the worst part was that she had to skip dinner to start searching for Ethan in the lake. The entire team surrounds the heroes and Ethan apologizes for taking so long to return. The vacation quickly ends, and Team 7 returns to their daily duties of fighting monsters. On the territory of the city, the gates opened again, from which hundreds of bloodthirsty orcs appeared. Arthur easily holds off 2 monsters. His skill has increased significantly. Ethan is pleased to see such rapid progress as the tank could play an important role during the first disaster. The main character orders Lily to finish the fight in 1 minute, and the girl begins to create fireballs. Shouting out the name of her favorite food, Lily attacks the orcs with dozens of fireballs. A satisfied girl asks for a set with a monster burger as a reward. But Ethan reports that Lily failed the test again, and there is no need to expect a tasty reward. Arthur asks if he can join dinner tonight. The main character suddenly runs behind the tank and throws it back to protect it from being hit in the back. Arthur missed the shadow goblin, who was waiting for the moment to attack. Ethan asks him to focus on the task and not on dinner. Arthur apologizes for his mistake and says that he will eat more healthy soup for dinner, and instead of resting, he will train. The main character praises the tank for having the right attitude and asks him to continue in the same spirit. Ethan had finally reached a level of ability comparable to his maximum development in the future. He is confident that shadow goblins are no longer a problem for him, and his mana reserve has increased significantly. The hero looks at the rainbow. Lily notices that her red color has disappeared. To survive the night of the 7 moons, Ethan will need Lily's fiery power to destroy the monsters, as well as a special team to destroy the gate core, and a plan to minimize the destruction of the city's infrastructure. Medical care is also important. The hero has already dealt with this by obtaining the elixir of life. The hero set up the production of potions for sale to other super people. Linda is sure that for good sales of such a useful consumable, you won't even have to spend money on advertising. The girl wonders if she managed to please the main character. Ethan ignores the question and asks if Harry managed to repair the golem from the cave. Linda doubts that the boy can cope with such a complex repair. Getting into the car, the hero asks the girl not to doubt Harry. After all, Lily promised the boy to go to the zoo if he managed to restore the robot. From the guild, the hero takes with him a dossier on his future friends, those who attended the retirement party. Linda asks if there are any other assignments. She wants to work as efficiently as possible before Ethan leaves. The hero asks the driver how long it takes him to get to work. The driver answers that it takes him an hour. Ethan says it must be difficult to spend so much time on the road, but the driver is happy with everything. The main character invites the driver to move to an apartment closer to work and asks Linda to prepare everything necessary. The girl happily agrees to carry out the assignment. The driver is uncomfortable accepting such a generous gift. He tries to refuse, but the hero asks not to worry. After all, he has enough money. He thinks about the coming first disaster. After the launch of potion sales, money has ceased to be a problem, and the guy wants to save as many friends and acquaintances as possible. He is confident that the most difficult work is just beginning. Pi wishes the heroes a pleasant trip. He glows with happiness. Before leaving, Ethan orders the guy to carefully monitor the house, and Lily adds so that he doesn't try to run away. The heroes go looking for Arthur and stumble upon him in the forest nearby. The tank stands with its head bowed in front of a huge stone covered with cracks. Lily wants to call out to Arthur, but Ethan stops the girl and asks her not to interfere. The guy is training and cursing himself for being slow. There is no place for someone like him on the main character's team. Arthur is sure that Ethan simply will not tolerate such a weakling. The main character does not understand why the guy thought that he could be kicked out, but decides not to interfere. Motivation is motivation. The hero wants to travel the rest of the way on a shield. Lily volunteers to create it.
Ethan is surprised when the girl learned to wield the bracelet so skillfully. He is amazed at her talent.
The heroes arrive at a cave in the Forbidden Zone. This is Ethan's treasury where he collected his arsenal. At the entrance, Lily is greeted by a snowflake from an underwater cave under the lake. The hero asks the fairies to look after the treasury in his absence, and the eldest reports that everything is calm. After the elixir of life, all three became faster than sound and are now able to almost instantly report to the hero about the situation outside the cave. Lily looks at the shelf with artifacts with interest and asks why the heroes flew to the treasury. The hero begins to collect the necessary relics and talks about their effects. The mask increases charisma and changes the voice beyond recognition. The sage's robe emits an aura that makes it difficult to attract people's attention. The wooden staff emits a bright light when interacting with mana. Finally, the heroes change clothes and are ready to move out for a special operation. The next gate with orcs is almost cleared. The guild members are completing the task. From the portal appears the leg of a man in the typical attire of a magician. This is the main character and Lily. They go out to meet super people. This is an atypical situation. No one has ever seen people leaving the gate rather than entering it. Ethan whispers to Lily that luckily for them, there will be plenty of witnesses to the show. The hero begins to broadcast to the crowd. He introduces himself as the magician Aximus from a distant continent, Gaia. He makes a terrifying face and shouts that a terrible disaster will soon befall the Earth. To be convincing, the hero speaks the Gaia language, and none of those present understands him. He pretends that the staff in his hand can perform translation magic. Ethan introduces himself to the guild members again, and talks about the impending disaster. A certain phrase of the hero serves as a signal for Lily and she begins a small trick. She creates a flying shield, and now the crowd has no doubt that in front of them is a real magician from another universe. Ethan continues to broadcast. He claims that the rainbow is a sign of a terrible curse. Another phrase gives Lily the signal to continue the show. The girl creates something like portals from which fiery meteorites fly. And Ethan talks about the risen dead and hundreds of thousands of victims. Super people cannot tear themselves away from the show. They begin to believe the mysterious magician. Ethan and Lily manage to draw the attention of others to themselves and to the rainbow. The crowd begins to think that it really does look strange. The policeman asks the hero how humanity can avoid disaster, but he replies that one can only minimize its destructive consequences. The guy asks for an audience with the king of the earth to tell him the details. The heroes are brought to the interrogation room of the Blue House. Lily is already exhausted from the performance and has managed to fall asleep at the table. Questions will be asked by the head of the Superhuman Support Center, the same one with whom the hero met when he registered as a superhuman. Ethan asks not to waste time and take him to the king of the earth, because the matter is of extreme importance. But the head counters that perhaps he is the king because the cultures of the two worlds can be very different. The hero does not stop acting out the scene. He says that he can read people's destinies. To make it even more convincing, Ethan creates an aura of mana around himself, and says that he sees the head of the support trying to become the king of the earth. This statement plunges the head into shock, because he really intended to apply to participate in the presidential election. Ethan grins. He just saw the election race on TV. An assistant enters the interrogation room and reports that the current president wishes to personally meet with the mysterious magician. The head of support returns Ethan's staff and asks him to follow him to the president. The hero remembers how the first gate opened right on the roof of the Blue House. On that day, monsters killed the president and most of the parliament. Now, the Blue House looked more like a secret military fortress than an ordinary building. Finally, the heroes are brought to the president's office. The room is filled with guards and there are 2 chairs in the center. The president introduces himself and greets strangers. The heroes bow to the main man of the country, as if they had met a king on their home continent. Ethan notices that the chairs look unusual, and he has never seen anything like them before. The president explains that these are special devices for detecting lies, to which the hero inaudibly says that it would be nice for the president himself to sit in one. Pretending that the magic of translation is acting up and the main character didn't say anything like that, Ethan and Lily sit down in chairs. The head of state begins to ask questions about the purpose of the hero's visit. Ethan and Lily take turns answering each question, their chairs not signaling lying. Throughout the interrogation, Lily thought about food. She still didn't understand even half of the questions. And the main character is so trained that he easily controls breathing and sweating, which allows him to pass the test. The president asks the heroes to leave the room for a while. Ethan and Lily return to the room and the president apologizes for the long interrogation. The head of state is interested in one more detail. This is his personal initiative. He asks if the heroes can send him to their home continent, Gaia. The president is confident that it is safer there than on Earth, which will soon be overtaken by the disaster. Ethan did not expect such a development of events. Continuing the game, he asks whether such behavior is worthy of the king of the Earth. The president offers any money for the opportunity to escape. He says that he is fed up with the Earth, where danger constantly looms over him, and asks to take him and his relatives to a safe place. Ethan is offended by this proposal and plans to leave the building. The president asks the hero to stop, but he is deaf to the pleas. Suddenly, one of the security guards of the head of state begins to remove the mask covering his face. The first awakened Titan Axel was hiding under it. In an instant, he crosses the room from one end to the other and blocks the hero's exit. The strength of the Titan is simply incredible. A huge Superman looms over the main character. Ethan feels Axel's powerful energy and thinks to himself that he can't even look him in the eye. Taking it into his hands, the hero lets out a chuckle, and the Titan wonders what made the magician laugh. Ethan asks how long Axel was going to pretend to be a security guard, since he's the real president. The Titan shrinks in size and asks how the main character saw through the trick. The hero replied that he saw the huge star of the president's destiny as soon as he entered the room. Having completed all the checks, Axel leads the heroes to the emergency meeting room. Ethan talks in detail about the first disaster. He did not expect all the big shots to gather in the hall. All the First Awakened are present at the meeting, including Donald, nicknamed the Monster, Demon King Jin, representing the Black Hound Guild, Ice Queen Cynthia, her hero did not know personally, and young Winchester, nicknamed Iron Wall, is also not familiar with the hero. The next day, the president is about to declare a national emergency. He asks more people to help protect the Earth. Jean and Winchester openly say that they do not trust some unfamiliar magician. Axel states that he has already checked the heroes and asks not to forget about the catastrophic consequences of opening the very first gate. The president says it is better to be prepared and not encounter a single monster than to lose thousands of people in a surprise attack. Suddenly, Winchester breaks away from his place and rushes towards the heroes like a bullet. Ethan raises his staff. He thinks that the head of the guild has decided to attack, but Winchester grabs Lily and is about to take off her mask to find out who is underneath it. He is sure that the girl is simply hiding her identity from those present and is afraid to show her real face. Winchester manages to remove the mask and it falls to the floor with a loud thud. The guild heads can't believe their eyes. Lily has turned into a fiery red cat and aggressively hisses at everyone around her. Winchester mumbles something in confusion, and Ethan picks up the mask from the floor. He asks the cat not to be angry with the head of the guild because he did not know about the purpose of the mask. Ethan looks at Winchester with hatred and explains that the Purr race considers it a shame to show their true colors. In fact, the hero thought through this development of events. The cat mask not only changes the voice, it contains a spell that transforms the wearer into a cat. Enraged by this behavior, Axel demands Winchester to immediately apologize. The guild leader complies and apologizes profusely. Ethan is happy that Lily has gotten into the role of a cat perfectly. The next day, Titan declares a state of emergency through television and radio broadcasts. This statement caused turmoil. but the military and super people were able to prepare for the upcoming confrontation. The keeper of the Blue House Library asks Ethan to look at some books before the hero heads back to Gaia. The guy promises to do everything in his power, but notices that there is little time left. The assistant says that he selected only the best preserved copies, showing a dozen shelves filled with various publications. The hero does not promise grand discoveries, because his skills are quite meager. Ethan walks along the shelves studying ancient and not-so-ancient books from different continents. Suddenly, a volume of the Sword Emperor's secret records caught his eye. He opens the book and begins to carefully study the contents. The keeper asks if everything is okay with the book, because the main character's face has changed dramatically. Ethan decides to intimidate the keeper and says that the volume was written by the devil himself. He asks to find out if any artifact, such as a sword, was found next to the book. The keeper is informed that next to the book they found only a worn uniform. Under the pretext of the misfortunes that the book brings with it, Ethan takes it and promises to seal it in a safe place. The hero begins to read the book of the Master of the Sword. The first pages tell about the difficult childhood of the protagonist. Ethan flips the pages impatiently, because he already knows the beginning and end of the book. Lily is losing patience. She has become completely bored, and she asks the main character to play with her, but he refuses and offers to read a book. Naturally, the girl is not interested in reading and runs off for a walk, and Ethan asks her to return by the end of lunch. The main character continues to read the book in silence and solitude. Finally, the hero finds the chapter he needs and carefully reads the Swordmaster's story about the heaven-destroying mind technique. After carefully studying the notes, Ethan decides to try the technique. He sits in the lotus position and begins meditation. Mana flows throughout the hero's body. Ethan is extremely focused in trying to master a powerful skill. The method described by the Swordmaster combines the perfect harmony of all levels of meditation. Unable to achieve balance, the hero decides to stop and try again later. Lunchtime had already passed, and Lily had not returned from her walk. The hero's attention is attracted by a sharp sound coming from behind him. A portal opens on the street directly in front of the Blue House building. A huge monster with a spiked mace in his hands appears from the gate. The Minotaur. People on the street are running away in panic. They did not expect an attack in the middle of the day. The hero uses the power of the bracelet to protect passers-by. He barely manages to stop the blow of incredible force. People thank the great sage who saved them from certain death. Ethan is left alone with the Minotaur and prepares for a difficult fight. Trying to maintain the image, the hero activates the staff and pretends to be charging a spell, and he quietly hits the monster with his left hand. The hero wonders how he managed to inflict such damage on a huge monster, literally with just his left hand. Ethan easily dodges the Minotaur's powerful attacks. The monster is trying to figure out where the hero went, and meanwhile the guy repeats the trick with the staff. Ethan delivers another crushing blow to the monster, pretending to use magic. Finally, the hero realizes that the Minotaur only seems weak to him. In fact, Ethan himself has become many times stronger. The lost Lily finally flies to the aid of the main character. Ethan asks where the girl went, and she replies that she was flying out to eat with a friend. The portal emits a low hum and continues to transport monsters to Earth. Dozens of Minotaurs, relatives of the first monster, appear in front of the Blue House building. The hero did not want to use powerful magic so as not to harm the building of the Blue House, but he has no choice. Lily uses fire magic, and Ethan pretends to help her, remembering to use a practically useless staff. The monsters that broke into this reality die one after another under a hail of fire. The head of the superhuman support does not hide his surprise while watching the performance. He believes that this is the highest magic. The president personally thanks the sage Eximus for protecting the Blue House. As a gift, he presents the hero with a suitcase full of high-level magic stones. Ethan tries to refuse the reward, but the president insists on accepting it. Otherwise, he refuses to let the wizard go. Having finished their performance, the heroes create a shield and leave the Blue House area. Lily says goodbye to her new friend, Cynthia the Ice Queen. Clutching a suitcase with a valuable gift, Ethan says goodbye to the president and heads of the guilds. Finally, the heroes return home after the most important operation. Lily can't wait to eat rice cakes cooking. The former bandit crawls out of the tent in tears, panicking over the declaration of an emergency. Realizing that nothing else happened during their absence, the heroes just grin. Rice Cake explains that Arthur went to an emergency meeting. Ethan thought that his servant would run away, but he was glad to be wrong. Therefore, the hero invites the former bandit to pack his things and prepare for the trip. Looking at the sky, Ethan notes that there are practically no colors left in the rainbow, and there is a little less than a week to prepare. Linda is unhappy with the hero's behavior. A state of emergency has been declared in the country, and Ethan even turned off his mobile phone. The girl asks the hero if he even understands how serious the situation is. Ethan replies that rice cake alerted him to impending danger. The hero asks to find free rooms in the guild, because his entire team is moving here. Linda takes Ethan by the hand and begins to lead him into the meeting room to meet with the head of the guild. The girl says that Donald was furious because the hero was absent from the emergency meeting. In the corridor, the heroes meet Arthur, who also goes to the meeting room. For a second, the tank freezes, as if it had seen a ghost. He shouts out the name of the main character and quickly runs up to him in an attempt to hug him. Ethan dodges, deciding that Arthur has gone crazy and decided to attack. But the tank is just glad to see the commander. The hero replies that he swears never to leave Arthur, no matter what happens. Tank is touched by such a promise, and Ethan thinks to himself that it would be stupid to refuse such a useful member of the team. Lily also encourages Arthur and says that she will never leave such a strong, kind man. Finally, the heroes find themselves in the meeting room. They are met by Donald, who offers to sit down. Linda explains that Ethan was outside the network's coverage area, but the guild leader asks him to leave excuses. Donald shares a prediction that the sage Aximus personally conveyed to him. The magician asked to leave the 7th Night Squad to the Wheel of Fate so that it could lead everyone to the light. Ethan is embarrassed. From the outside, his words sound much stupider than he thought. The hero asks Donald to follow the prophecy and give his team free rein during a disaster. Ethan thinks to himself that clearing the gates that the guilds will choose as their target is a waste of time, because he already knows why the disaster is called the Night of the Seven Moons. Along with the regular gates, this time 7 special gates of different colors will open. These portals are connected to dozens of other regular gates that will close along with the main ones. The hero told Donald about the location of gates of all colors except red. Hidden inside this portal is a valuable spiritual stone that Ethan plans to use to his advantage. Donald and the others begin to doubt that the prophecy can be so simple. They search for hidden meaning in the words of a magician from another reality. The hero hurries to dispel doubts, because the sage as a whole did not give any complex prophecies, and everything should lie on the surface. After much convincing, the hero's team finally receives permission to have complete freedom of action. Ethan begins serious training of his subordinates, starting with Arthur's ability to manipulate mana. The hero uses the Swordmaster's notes to train proper breathing techniques. Arthur tries his best to use the skill, but cannot understand how it works. The Swordmaster wrote that even a monkey can learn this technique, and the hero cannot understand why the tank can't do it. Ethan is losing patience, because this is the 30th time he has shown Arthur how to use the equipment. Tank promises to continue training on his own until he achieves the desired result. The rainbow has almost disappeared, and the beginning of the disaster is already upon us. The team needs to be ready for this test. The hero asks Lily if she liked the chicken she bought. The girl happily nods her head. Ethan wipes pieces of chicken from the heroine's face and says that it's time to practice delicious food in training. The main character knows the structure of the Red Gate. On the way to its core, the team will have to overcome the Valley of Flame, overcoming the heat of lava erupting from the volcano. For this purpose, they will need a powerful artifact, the Fang of the Ice Dragon, which is located where the hero worked in a past life, in the Black Hound Guild. The hero takes Lily with him on an important matter, having previously changed her hair color with a special potion. Ethan remembers the hellish days in the Black Hound Guild, when you could only count on a vacation if you were seriously injured. But thanks to this work, he thoroughly knows the structure of the headquarters, every nook and cranny and every surveillance camera. Ethan enters the main building through a window and holds the glass open so Lily can get inside. 2 people remain in the observation room at the headquarters. One of the employees complains that everyone else is already in the evacuation zone. The second agrees with his colleague. He believes that it is high time for them to be in a safe place and not watch the empty guild building. One of the guards notices that the infrared camera has stopped working for some unknown reason. The guards realize that the camera shows the entrance to the security room where they are, but it's too late. Ethan instantly gets inside and knocks the guards unconscious. He remembers the past and says that he has not been in this room for a long time. Through the loudspeakers, the hero informs the guards that someone has entered the room of the head of the guild. He orders all employees to urgently go to check the situation. The hero caught all the guards in a cunning trap, closing the security shutters behind them. Ethan leans back in his chair and decides to play music for the guards so that they won't be so bored being locked up. The heroes break into the vault of the Black Hound Guild. Lily is stunned by the number of artifacts that are stored in the treasury. What attracts her most is the figurine of a chicken, which, judging by its appearance, is cast from pure gold. Lily dreams of adding something valuable to her collection, but Ethan stops the girl from collecting excess trash. Finally, the heroes find the storage location of the desired relic. The ice dragon's tooth lies in an expensive box on a silk pillow. Having taken the necessary things, Ethan suggests returning home, and Lily asks if they will look behind the wall. She senses a secret vault behind which lies a lot of magical power. Ethan activates the clock and plans to smash the wall into pieces to see what's hidden behind it. With a powerful blow, the hero demolishes the barrier, and the contents of the secret room are revealed to the hero's eyes. There are hundreds of high-level spirit stones stored behind the thick glass. Ethan praises Lily for her thoughtfulness and promises to buy her 3 cheese balls for dinner. He allows the clock to devour all the stones, since he himself is going to use the spiritual stone obtained from the Red Gate. Despite the fact that the armor takes hundreds of stones, its appearance practically does not change, and the hero wonders if he was mistaken. Finally, the job is done. Ethan invites Lily to return home, and the girl happily agrees. The next day, the rainbow disappears completely, and the cheese balls never get to the point, which the young sorceress is clearly not happy about. Ethan can't stop smiling. He can barely contain his joy and giggles constantly. One of the team members asks about the reason for the commander's good mood. The hero replies that he was finally paid everything he was entitled to at his previous place of work. The head of the Black Hound Guild, meanwhile, is clearly not in the best mood. Ethan finishes the story about the previous job and asks the team to check the equipment. The employees answer that everything is fine with the connection. The hero checks with the team with whom he will go through the gates, whether they are ready. Lily responds that her armor is terribly uncomfortable, and Arthur is embarrassed to wear such tight clothes. Linda informs Ethan that all the people whom the hero asked to evacuate have been taken to the safe zone. These are the protagonist's future friends who attended the retirement party, and who lost their family in the hero's reality. The head of the White House Guild is excited about the upcoming battle, and is ready to deal with the monsters. Ethan heard that Donald was so excited that he didn't sleep a wink all night, and Linda confirms these rumors without hiding her displeasure. The hero remembers how the first disaster took the whole country by surprise, and thinks that with such preparation it will be possible to get by with little bloodshed. The assembled defenders of the Earth notice a mechanical monster. The hero immediately understands what's going on, and silently praises Harry for his excellent work. It was a golem from a cave under the lake that came to the aid of the guilds, which the boy managed to not only restore, but also modernize. Lily asks the robot his name, but a familiar voice comes from inside. This is Harry. He controls the car personally while in the cockpit. Lily is also interested in sitting in the robot, and Ethan asks if Harry's mother allowed him to be present on the battlefield. The boy promises to protect the team at all costs. The main character begins to explain that this is not the right place or time for reckless actions. But Linda interrupts him, pointing to the sky, which is lit up with all the colors of the rainbow. Ethan realizes that the time for battle has come and asks the girl to return to the command post. Portals of different colors open one after another in the sky above the city. Frightened crows fly away from their homes, creating an even more apocalyptic picture. The military is pessimistic. They are already worried about their lives, and this is just the first wave. The hero decides to raise the morale of his comrades. He reminds that guilds deal with similar monsters almost every day. The military takes up shooting positions, clearly inspired by Ethan's speech. The tanks take up a combat position and begin to hit the portals. The super people are dealing with the monsters that manage to get close to the base. The city is blazing in the flames of explosions. Hundreds of monsters emerge from the gates and head towards the fortifications of the Earthlings. The head of the White House Guild finally gets the opportunity to fight properly. He had not participated in a real battle for a long time and already missed the feeling of adrenaline in his blood. Donald selects the blue gate for destruction and systematically moves closer to it. All the main gates were distributed among the first awakened, and the hero himself plans to supposedly accidentally get into the red gate. Ethan asks Harry to be careful while covering the base, but the boy says that he will go with the team. The hero agrees and asks Harry to cover them from afar. The guy immediately agrees. Ethan orders Team 7 into position as their special operation begins. From this moment on, the heroes need to pretend that they are moving without a particular goal while heading towards the red gate. The support team reports that monsters are surrounding them on all sides. The case was special, so the main character took with him a military weapon, which he used quite rarely. Huge werewolves block the convoy's path, but Ethan orders the driver to move on without stopping while he clears the road ahead. The hero's skills have increased greatly, and only bloody scraps remain from his opponents. Ethan orders Lily to prepare for an attack. She will have to destroy several monsters. A few minutes later, the hero indicates the exact place where to attack. The girl immediately reacts and launches a fiery whirlwind towards the opponents. The driver of the armored car is afraid to move through Lily's fire magic, because it could burn the car. But Ethan orders not to stop, and the girl makes a movement with her hands. The fire parted and created a protective wall around the convoy. Lily can't wait to get to dinner. She screams loudly that she will eat as much as she can. Ethan is pleased with the girl's fighting spirit. He orders the convoy to move at maximum speed. The hero was not mistaken with the coordinates of the red gate, and the team will soon reach them. The guy orders the entire team to prepare to enter the gate. But a column of energy bursts out of the portal and hits the ground in front of the convoy. The red fog clears and a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex emerges. The main character orders not to slow down and sends Arthur forward. The dinosaur opens its huge mouth, runs towards the convoy and growls so that the tank almost blows out of the way. Arthur grabs the monster's giant fangs and prevents it from closing its jaws, his body filled with golden streams of energy. Ethan is surprised that the tank was finally able to master the complex Golden River Stream mana technique. The main character orders Harry to come to the aid of Arthur. The boy takes off in his high-tech armor to stop the monster from devouring the tank. Harry grabs the T-Rex's tail and tries to immobilize the monster, or at least distract it. But the robot's impressive power allows it to effortlessly flip the monster onto its back. The whole team is surprised by this turn. They did not expect that Harry's armor gives him such an advantage. Ethan cuts the Tyrannosaurus's chest with a precise blow from his halberd. He wants to get the treasure that should be inside the monster's body. And the hero is not mistaken. The dinosaur contains the core of Ki energy, which has an amazing tonic effect. Arthur warns the commander that this is not the time to relax, because monsters continue to attack from all sides. Ethan says that in this case, you need to quickly jump into the gate. Inside the gate, the heroes change into special armor with a cooling effect. It will be useful to them in this fiery world. The head of the equipment specialists is surprised by the skillful execution of the armor from such a young but talented Harry. The boy in the golem calls out to Lily and she quickly turns in his direction. He asks the girl to press the button in the center of the robot's palm to receive a surprise. A capsule with liquid food flies out of the internal compartment of the ancient guard and falls straight into the girl's hands. She is very grateful to Harry for thinking through even such a small thing. The boy is embarrassed, but happy to be useful and says that there is no need to thank him for such a trifle. The heroes continue to advance inside the gate, and a pack of fire dogs appears on their way. Arthur rushes forward without an order. He is ready to tear the dogs apart with his bare hands. Ethan is glad that the tank is finally taking the initiative and decides to practice shooting with the energy gun for now. Arthur is ready to face the monsters one-on-one. He expects an attack. A pack of dogs attacks the tank, enveloping it in hellish flames. The main character begins to shoot accurately at the monsters. Dense clots of blue energy burst out of the gun. They freeze the flaming dogs in place, turning them into blocks of ice. Ethan mentally thanks himself for his foresight, because the gun came in handy on the way to the gate core. He orders Harry to finish what he started, and the boy silently activates the golem's engines. With a powerful blow of a steel fist, the robot smashes frozen monsters into thousands of small fragments. Ethan orders not to linger and to continue deeper into the gates. Lily lets out a deep sigh, and the main character pays attention to this. He asks the girl why she is drooping and if she's feeling well. Lily replies that her fire magic doesn't work in the fire world and she doesn't want to be useless. But the main character asks the girl to relax and wait for her turn. She will have plenty of work after passing through the gate. Lily has no choice but to silently watch the team's progress through the fiery fields. The convoy approaches a huge volcano oozing lava. The main character orders the team to stop, and they immediately turn off the engines of the armored personnel carriers. A lava lake stretches out in front of the heroes, which will be difficult to pass even with their equipment. Ethan asks to bring him some medium-sized monster. The main character throws a cross between a rabbit and a rat into the middle of the lake, when suddenly a fiery snake appears from the hot lava, swallowing the bait. Ethan asks the equipment specialist for an analog of a fishing rod, but for a large catch. And the young assistant rushes off in search of the necessary equipment. While the guy is looking for a fishing rod, the main character invites Arthur and Harry to play rock, paper, scissors. The team members look at each other in silent incomprehension. Tank loses the competition and screams with tears in his eyes, while the boy, using the power of the golem, throws Arthur on a thick cable into the middle of the lava lake. The snake, with a sharp movement, breaks out of the fiery slurry and grabs the bait. The main character orders Harry to pull as hard as he can. With the help of jet engines, the golem manages to hook its prey, although not without difficulty.
While inside the monster's mouth, Arthur remembers the instructions given by the commander.
He activates a double-edged blade that pierces the monster's jaws from above and below. Harry begins to pull his prey with redoubled force to pull the snake ashore. Finally, he succeeds and the monster flies out from his fiery hiding place. Its heavy carcass leaves an impressive crater at the landing site. Ethan asks Arthur if he is okay. The tank jumps out of its mouth and reports its condition. The heroes hear a sound that clearly does not bode well. A huge hand appears from the crater of a volcano, which does not bode well. Soon the owner of the hand, a giant lava golem, rises. The team finds itself in a difficult situation. The snake is still full of strength to resist while the golem begins its descent. The monster is dexterous enough to attack Ethan with its tail, each blow tearing out pieces of earth from under the hero's feet. Arthur grabs the serpent's tail and shouts to the commander that now is the best moment to attack. Ethan orders Harry to attack from the side while the monster tries to shake off the tank. The boy delivers a powerful blow to the monster's body, but the scales turn out to be too strong. Enraged, the fiery serpent begins to spit green liquid from its mouth. Dangerous acid escaping from the reptile's throat corrodes the mechanical golem's hand. Ethan orders Harry to retreat. He does not have enough experience to fight a monster of this level. The boy tries to refuse, because the robot has an armor restoration mode, but the main character insists on his own. The commander orders Arthur to abandon the kite and retreat to regroup. Harry grabs the tank and carries it on jet engines to the camp. The hero is left alone with the snake and the giant golem. He is ready to fight to the last drop of blood. The support team reports that they have scanned the area using cameras, and compared to the golem, the snakes do not pose much of a threat. The hero understands the complexity of the situation. He guessed that the giant was much more dangerous than the reptile. While Ethan is fighting with a fire-breathing snake, a golem from the crater of the volcano quickly descends. The main character remembers that in the future the First Awakened entered the gate, and even they barely survived the battle. Lily and Arthur listen to Ethan's orders over the radio, worrying about his fate. The main character's plan was to deal with the snake monster first, and then plunge the fang of the ice dragon into the chest of the fire giant, and finish off the monster from the crater while it is weakened by the effects of ancient spells. Unfortunately, the plan that was perfect on paper went awry, and the hero asks the team to remain in the rear until further notice. Arthur cannot accept such orders. He is ashamed to sit idle while the commander dies. But Ethan is trying to implement another much more cunning plan. The hero uses mana to enhance reflexes and movement speed and begins an attack. It runs along the body of a huge snake towards the head of the reptile. The monster is not going to give up and again throws dangerous acid out of its mouth. Taking advantage of the moment, Ethan cuts off his tongue, from which corrosive liquid erupts. The stunned monster retreats in a fit of pain and rage, and the hero tries to lure him into his cunning trap. Ethan checks with the team to see if everyone has managed to move to a safe distance. In the earphone, you can hear the squeal of a girl who refuses to sit in the rear and demands to be let go to help the main character. The commander demands that Lily be kept at all costs. She will most likely suffer on the battlefield. The fire giant, meanwhile, descends from the volcano and gets close to the main character. Ethan finds it difficult to breathe close to a source of scalding heat, even in special cooling gear. Out of the corner of his eye, he notices movement and turns around to check. The snake, having come to its senses, overtakes the hero and again begins to attack with its heavy tail. The monster rushes past the golem in an attempt to grab Ethan, but its plans are not destined to come true. Perceiving the serpent as a threat, the fire giant attacks the monster with a powerful blow to its side. The reptile turns on the offender and growls angrily, intending to respond to the offender. Giant monsters look at each other as if before a boxing match. The golem strikes first. Its blow is capable of breaking the snake in half, but the reptile dodges. The monster uses acid spit again. It tries to hit the fire giant's face, but the stone golem manages to cover itself with its hand, and the acid does not cause any damage to it. The main character waits in the shelter behind the stones, guessing the right moment. He prepared the ice dragon's fang, which needed to be stuck into the golem's heart area. Ethan pulls on special gloves that protect his hands from ancient magic and prepares to strike. Taking advantage of its speed, the fiery serpent wraps itself around the giant's arm. He continues to crawl along the golem's body and takes its neck in a grip, immobilizing the monster from the crater. Ethan realizes that this is his best chance to attack. He uses his camouflage skill and begins its journey to the heart of the fiery giant. Finally, the golem regains control of his body, and in rage he glances sideways at the snake. The giant spews flames from within in an attempt to throw the reptile off its neck. And he succeeds. The snake growls furiously, experiencing hellish pain under the influence of fire magic. The golem finishes off the monster from the lake with a powerful blow to the chest, and finally gains complete freedom. On the way to the giant's weak point, Ethan notes that he has never seen such an epic fight. The hero makes a final leap towards the golem's sternum. But in the middle of the jump, he feels that something has gone wrong, showing agility uncharacteristic for such a huge body. The giant tries to grab Ethan. The monster's hand is slammed into the ground. The soil sags with a roar from the powerful blow. The golem raises his palm, but does not find the flattened hero in it as he expected. The monster hears a thin voice, barely noticeable behind his disgruntled growl. It was Lily who came to the aid of the main character at the last second, pulling him out of the tenacious clutches of death. The girl states that she came to earn money spent on food for her. The golem becomes enraged. Flames engulf its body and it roars loudly. In a fit of anger, Lily releases fireballs from her palms, promising to deal with the monster. The main character does not have time to stop the girl from making a mistake that could cost them their lives. The golem swallows the girl's fiery blasts and spews powerful flames from its mouth. The fire monster feeds on this type of magic and only enhances its abilities. The girl did not know that using her skills would only make the monster stronger and was surprised. Ethan suggests retreating and developing a different tactic before the heroes lose their lives. But Lily comes up with a new plan for the discovery and immediately begins to implement it. Exhaling deeply, the girl begins to suck in air noisily. The golem's flames are directed towards the heroes, but this is not another attack. The monster does not understand what is happening and tries to hold the fire with his hands. The girl uses her shield to fly closer, continuing to suck out the magical powers of the ancient creature. The golem tries to leave the battlefield in confusion. He cannot resist such a cunning idea. Finally, the flame leaves the monster's body completely and the defeated giant falls to the ground. Lily eats the last spark from the monster's body, and Ethan is unable to utter a word. The first disaster was averted much faster than it happened in Ethan's future. The 7th team volunteered to help ordinary people restore the destroyed part of the city. Using superhuman abilities, Arthur carries heavy steel beams without much difficulty. Harry uses a mechanical robot to do welding work and help with construction. The builders ask Rice Cake why super people volunteered to help because they usually don't undertake manual labor. And the guy replies that guild members should help ordinary townspeople in everything, and not just fight monsters. Grateful workers invite the whole team to take a break and have a drink, because they did a great job. Questions arise only for Ethan. The builders do not understand why he is not helping. The main character simply lies on a sun lounger and sunbathes under the rays of the pleasant summer sun. The workers conclude that Ethan has never seen any difficulties in his life, because his skin is so good, as if all he does is visit beauty salons. The conversation is interrupted by Arthur. With a thud, he puts his hand on the table at which the company is sitting. And he says that it's time for them all to get back to work, because there is still a lot of work ahead. The builders agree with the tank's words, and also get up from the table. The great sage Aximus did not lie. After the first calamity, the gates do not open, and the townspeople have enough time to restore the city. And in addition, people are studying new monsters. Linda's voice interrupts Ethan, who is reading a book in a lounge chair. The girl asks whether the main character is bored of idleness, to which the hero replies that he is ready to spend his time like this for the rest of his life. Lily says that being unemployed and having a lot of money is the best profession. Linda raises her eyebrows in surprise. She notices that the main character's skin has become perfect. Ethan is glad that Linda has noticed the changes and runs his hand over his renewed face. He activated the flesh change skill using the stone obtained from the fire giant's body. Now he can enjoy life in a body with beautiful skin even after retirement. He tells Linda that he underwent several procedures in the same clinic, and the girl asks for the doctor's contact information. But the hero assures that the clinic has already closed due to bankruptcy, specifying for what reason the girl visited him. She brought a report on the sales of magic potions and adds that production is expanding, and demand exceeds supply. Health elixirs are now exclusively supplied by the White House and are extremely popular, and they saved hundreds of lives during the first disaster. Even crippled ordinary people are being cured of injuries that should have confined them to bed for life. Next, Linda takes out the report on the autopsy of the fire giant's body, but the hero asks to leave only certain parts for him and use the rest at the girl's discretion. Linda's last question is whether Ethan will participate in the funeral ceremony for the soldiers killed during the first disaster, and the hero refuses. He has prepared a special surprise for the grieving family members. Hundreds of people gather at the memorial square. All of them came to mourn the victims of the first disaster. The president makes a speech of gratitude to the brave defenders of the country. Amid the sobs of the relatives of the fallen soldiers, Titan lights ritual candles. In the crowd, a girl asks her mother when her father will return, but the woman just cries bitterly. The child asks his mother not to cry and hugs her tightly. Axel thinks to himself that after so many losses, he will not be able to look the great sage in the face. The president's attention is drawn to an unidentified object flying through the sky and leaving a magical trail behind it. This is the protagonist's sleigh, harnessed by snowflakes, which the head of state mistakes for monsters. A girl hugging her mother sees Santa Claus in the sky and looks in surprise at the miracle happening in the sky. Using fire magic, Lily creates a ring of fire around the sleigh. The president orders security to remain alert and protect civilians. He begins to use the power of the Titan, which he received at the moment of awakening. But the ring of fire turns into a whirlwind, which is crowned with the likeness of a golden star on a festive tree. A girl from the crowd points at the show and shouts joyfully that it really is Santa. The whirlwinds of fire finally rush upward and scatter into bright fireworks, similar to real ones. The snowflakes begin to sing a song and send down soap bubbles mixed with large flakes of snow. Children enjoy the wonderful performance, forgetting for a few minutes the bitterness of losing family members. The president cancels the order for the attack. He understands that the people behind the show do not wish harm. He agrees with the children and says that it is not a monster, but Santa Claus attended the ceremony. The main character lands the sled on the roof of the White House building. Linda meets the heroes at the landing site. Ethan thanks them for the suits and sled they found. The girl replies that it was not difficult, but asks to explain why the hero staged this show. After all, he not only gave the children a holiday, but also delivered a large sum of money to every home that had lost a breadwinner. Ethan replies that he doesn't really know, but he understands that such families most need real help. The state provides subsidies, but they are not enough to support such tragedies. Therefore, the hero tried to help people in trouble, because he has the opportunity to provide at least material support. Linda silently takes in the information, mulling over Ethan's words. She says that she is seriously concerned, but not that Ethan might become a sissy or a slobber, and the fact that if he continues in this spirit, the girl will fall head over heels in love with him. Cool Ethan advises Linda to look elsewhere for love. The heroes descend into the hall for a party in honor of the victory in the first calamity. Arthur and Pi call the main character to the table because he did a great job in the battle and deserves a rest. Harry has prepared a whole table of food for Lily and invites her to join. The persistent main character ruins the evening for two and asks to bring another chair, because otherwise the boy will have nowhere to sit, and Lily pounces on the food. Ethan wipes the girl's face from pieces of food and asks her to eat more carefully. While the girl is busy devouring pizza, the main character thinks that she spoke suspiciously little about her relatives. Ethan asks Lily if she would like to see her family. Suddenly, the girl falls into silence and even puts the food back on the plate. Harry thinks that Ethan scolded her. Lily looked so down. The girl starts talking. She is trying to say that she wants to see her family. The main character interrupts Lily and loudly says that then they should visit Gaia. Ethan already needed to look at the continent for equipment, and at the same time they could visit the girl's relatives. At night, Lily has a nightmare. She runs through the forest as if she is being chased. The girl sees the silhouette of Ethan standing with his back to her and runs up to him. She tugs the main character's sleeve and asks him to help Wendy, probably the girl's sister. Ethan turns around. His ears have become pointed like an elf's, and he wears an orc mask on his face. Lily wakes up from a nightmare and screams. She runs into the main character's room and asks to sleep with him. Before falling asleep, she tells Ethan about her nightmares and how she wants the best for Wendy. The main character calms the girl down, asks her not to worry and to fall asleep as soon as possible.